Welcome to episode 122 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. We're on our shuffling of co-host again. We have Rachel now because Katie is in West Virginia, and then next week she'll be in Alabama, and the weekend after that she'll still be in Alabama. So she'll be back in a month. I've been hanging out at home by myself for the last 4 days. It's boring.
Are you finally bored now?
I was bored on day one.
You can come to the shop anytime you want, dude.
Yeah, it's hot there.
It's not hot in my office part.
That's true.
As I say, you can build in the other back office.
I also then have to wake up at a decent hour.
Well, you could drive up there whenever you get up.
That's true, but still have to wake up. I am taking care of somebody else's dogs. So I do have to wake up in the morning, go take care of their dogs, and then I came back to the house and just went back to sleep. And then I have to go back and see the dogs after this.
Whose dogs?
Somebody I worked with.
There you go.
So I have to be responsible for somebody else's animals, which is not as much fun because my animal's like, screw it, you'll be fine in 8 hours. My dogs are used to it. Let's see what's going on lately. Y'all just had a show in Longview.
Yeah, don't remind me.
That was a rough show. A lot of people had, again, it's going to be rough, I think, for a while. So that sucks. But did you have a grilled cheese?
Yeah, and it wasn't that good.
What?
Oh, mine was amazing.
I guess they were out of the normal cheeses. So on the peanut butter and bacon one, they put pepper jack, which was an odd combination.
Yeah, that's not what I'll be on with.
I only ate half of it. I don't know if you noticed that. I picked all the bacon and peanut butter off because the pepper jack just was not a good combination with that.
Yeah, that's weird. I wonder.
Well, it was 20 minutes later when they announced that they were completely out of food. So I figured they were just low on cheese, and they were like, fuck it, we'll just put pepper jack on this one.
No, because mine was the regular Havarti, and Logan's was, I had his done with sharp cheddar.
Oh, yeah. Then
Maybe they just don't like you.
Yeah, probably.
They said, fuck this guy. They said, look at him. He'll eat anything.
They were not wrong.
I mean, I ordered the food, so.
They knew.
Yeah, they never knew it was me.
They knew. They're that good.
Rachel went out and ordered it.
Let's see, what did I do this weekend? Oh, I sat and did nothing. That's what I did this weekend. I sat and did nothing.
That's pretty much what I did too.
Yeah.
It cost me nothing though to do nothing.
I know that
It did not
cost me nothing.
I saw your text, Max, but I'm in the middle of a podcast. So I'll get back to you after that. Unprofessional people. Max Hicks. Anyways, also let's see what else is going on. The giveaway. Our giveaway for our U.S. ARC membership. It is warm in here, by the way, in case somebody's wondering.
Warm in here.
That's because we have the house set on 72 because we're trying to be because it's fucking expensive if you set it at 68 and just runs all day.
Yeah.
Ours on 70.
It's fine downstairs because it's downstairs, but I haven't set upstairs for a while. I should have cranked it down.
Say you have any oscillating fans? Because I've been leaving our oscillating fans on upstairs and pulling them forward closer to the doors, and that's helping a little bit.
I don't. We have a fan downstairs in the living room that's really cool off the living room. But
here we go with Max with the sales pitch.
Max, first off, I'm renting a house. I'm not doing solar. Go away, Max. Stop it. No one is buying solar right now from you. Second, it's expensive as hell, and I don't care how much y'all say the state will pay for it. No state ever ends up paying for everything, and people get screwed by it. So I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and you're not going to get our landlord to do it because they have 10,000 houses. So,
and they freak the fuck out when I put the satellite dish on the roof. They're sure as hell not going to let me put solar all over the roof. Anyways, so our giveaway, all you have to do is go to our Facebook page and click on the post at the top and tell us your favorite guest over the last 121 episodes, now 122. And then you're entered in for a free U.S. ARC membership for a year. And Sean Gray from Herps added in another one. So what we're going to do is we're going to give away one this month, and then we're going to give away the second one next month. So it'll be the same thing. If you don't win this month, your name will still be on there for next month's. So just go over there, tell us your favorite guest. It's 122 episodes after this one, so pick somebody. Really, just anybody. All you do is put a name. It's like Celebrity Jeopardy on SNL. Write anything. Just write anything, and then you can win. If you need, I didn't do sponsors. If you need a rack or a cage, you get a hold of Robert. lsreptileracks.com. Racks, cages, and racks. And racks and cages.
Yep.
So excited over there.
Bunch of rectangles.
Yes.
I get bored watching the machine just cut rectangles.
Build a round cage.
Yeah, I've thought
a cool arboreal.
There's got to be a way to
cage.
do it, but man.
Yeah, but you have to be able to bend PVC.
I'd have to get $1,000 for that thing just for make up the labor involved.
Yeah.
Well, you could do individual sections that are cut on, whatever degree you have to figure out it has to be, where they just all sit together and screw together. But
That sounds horrible.
there's a reason that nobody does that.
That sounds like math.
Sounds like a lot of math.
Yeah, I'm not doing math. I don't like numbers. I've been interested in some of the cages. Everybody's starting to try to sell cages on Facebook now, and not everybody's made out to make and sell cages.
No,
just things I've noticed. One local person is trying PVC cages, and all of their cages they posted have the doors opening up, which means you have to hold the door up while not getting bit or attacked by whatever's inside the cage.
Yeah, no, I'll pass.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense. And then there's the other one who made a ton of cages out of OSB, and that's just going to fall apart, even though they covered it in polyurethane.
mm-hmm.
It's gonna kill whatever you put in it.
Yeah, it's also gonna smell wonderful with 120 degrees inside that box.
Yeah.
Herps. We talked about Herps at Longview. Next Herp show is Slidell. That should be good. It's normally a good show, so hopefully that one will be good for everybody. That's Slidell, July 23rd and 24th. Oklahoma City. That's too far away. That's July 30th and 31st. Corpus Christi, August 13th and 14th. That's my last fun show before school really starts. Bryan College Station, August 20th and 21st. Is that also that's not the opening of the... No, when's the opening of the...
Tipsy Trinket?
Yep, that thing, Tipsy Trinket.
Day after tomorrow.
Thursday.
That's the actual opening day.
Oh, shit. Is that when they're doing... Wait, that's not when the...
I don't think that's the grand opening.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just...
I'll say, I was hoping I didn't miss anything.
They're opening because we're going there tomorrow to take her charcuterie boards to her.
Charcuterie boards.
Charcuterie boards. And I don't even know what fucking room I'm in right now.
Austin, Texas is August 27th and 28th. Conroe, Texas, September. We just had Conroe. Conroe is September 10th and 11th. New Orleans is September 17th and 18th. And then Waco, Texas. That's an oldie but a good. That's a show that used to be there. It's now back in Waco, right? It got moved to...
Yes.
Where did it get moved to?
It was moved to Temple.
Temple, that's right.
Now it's moved back.
Now
to
it's
Waco.
moved back to Waco, October 15th and 16th. I'd never been to the Waco show.
Yeah.
I think I've only been to the Temple show like once. Yeah, maybe. Yes, possibly. Anyways, also our friends over at why did my brain go? But Wiregrass Exotics. I don't have Katie here to remind me of all the stuff for the sponsors. Tracy says Waco is new. Waco is new but old. I'm pretty sure they used to have the show in Waco.
I have no idea.
Or there was a show in Waco. Anyways, go to it. It's October 15th and 16th. Our friends over at Wiregrass Exotics and Ozark, Alabama, go check them out. Katie logged on. She's wondering if she should watch us or Encanto. I go with Encanto. That's what I would go with.
I mean, it just depends. Do you want to look at your husband's face or just enjoy it?
I was in Walmart yesterday and they were playing We Don't Talk About Bruno on the Walmart music. That was weird. I didn't say I needed you. I said it's messed up, Katie, because you're not here, and that's why I'm messing up. I'm good. You stay away for 3 weeks. Asshole.
We'll deal with him pouting, Katie. It's all right.
But anyways, let's go ahead and bring our guest in. I'm gonna let Robert wake up. He can introduce our guest. You ready, Robert?
I don't even know who they are. I'm joking.
Go ahead.
Who are you guys? Who are you guys?
It is Dax and Taylor from DNT Retics.
Yeah, while y'all introduce each other, I'm gonna turn the air down.
Yes. Katie's not here to tell you not to.
Long time no see. How are y'all doing?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Weekend.
It's been what, 2 whole days since I saw you guys?
48 hours.
Yeah, if that.
Dying.
No, right? Ugh.
What everybody doesn't know is they were our neighbors this weekend at the show we vended in Longview.
Yes.
The show we all just hung out at Longview.
Yeah,
Actually, you guys finally sold what, 2 snakes at the last 10 minutes?
The last 30 minutes, we sold 2 of them, so it was like our saving grace.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so and it's usually like that. I swear, I'm never doing Saturday shows. Might as well just go Sunday.
Yeah, we're just gonna start showing up Sundays.
Roll up at lunchtime and just put the snakes on the table. That's it.
There you go.
Literally.
Be like Conroe's show where we had to cancel and had just the Sunday.
Dude, that show was great.
That show was
Hot.
It was insane.
And it created a sense of urgency for people to come in and buy and get what they,
And I didn't have to pay for a hotel.
I did.
Drove up You did. I did
Well,
not.
I'd already booked it, and it was too late to cancel.
We booked it, but we moved it to this Conroe. So this Conroe was actually that hotel room.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Well, we were at a different
Nice.
hotel that didn't
Yeah.
allow that apparently. So
Yeah.
yeah. No, the show this weekend was okay. I mean, I did better than I did in January. That's
Yes.
for sure.
That's good.
Because January I did $225 at that show.
Longview's a weird one.
It is.
It's trapped there between Slidell and Dallas, and
Mhm.
it doesn't seem to pull enough from Slidell or Dallas. So it's a
Yeah,
little weird.
definitely does.
Well,
But you can't go over to Slidell because not Slidell, Shreveport. I keep saying Slidell. Shreveport has weird ass rules about vending there because I think the vendors have to each buy a license.
Same thing in San Antonio.
Is it really? That's why it's outside of.
That's why the shows are in Shirts and McQueenie, because I think it's a $500 per vendor license per show.
Wow.
Like it's not even good for a
What?
whole year. So if you did 2 shows a year, you're out $1,000 right there in licenses.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's why no one does it.
You
Well,
have
I
to
think
pay each time. Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think Repticons try to do shows in those areas, and
Yeah.
they get
Every
whatever.
animal has to have a health certificate from a vet.
Jeez.
Yeah, no.
Nothing that gets over 8 foot. So you guys would be
I
kicked
love
out.
Well, they could just do like that show in Houston and still bring stuff in and ignore
Right,
the laws.
right.
That works.
Yeah.
There were no retics at the show in Houston.
We don't sell retics.
Just lie like the
Losers.
boa person I saw and tell all of your customers that these retics don't get bigger than 6 feet.
There you
Because that's what they said about boas. They told people that their boas don't get any bigger than 6 feet. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit.
Yep.
Yep.
So considering the fact most of mine are bigger than that.
Yeah, they were all going to get big. I can't stand people lying to people to sell an animal.
No.
That's what drives me nuts when it comes to selling an animal. And with retics, it's even like I don't hate on retics. I will voice my concerns with retics.
You can voice your opinion. It's
Yeah,
all right. We get it. It's all right. Let's all
There's
good.
a shit ton of retics produced every year.
Mhm.
I don't see a shit ton of 15-foot retics. So I'm just wondering what happens to the tons of them that get produced. I mean, you got egg finger fucker over there in California who produces a shit ton of retics. And they got to go somewhere. And I just worry about how many of them don't reach adulthood. And then I worry about the ones that do reach adulthood also.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of people who have big ones. They don't put it out there too much. There's a lot out there. You'd be surprised how many people who aren't breeders or anything like that have giant ones. I mean, it's
Yep.
They're out there. They're just not showing them all the time.
But see,
try to
those people are probably keeping responsibly. There's a ton of people that are buying them that they die before they're like 8 foot.
Or they keep them until they get a little bigger and go, oh, this is too much for me, and sell them. I mean, you
Yeah.
see that quite
Yeah.
a bit.
The problem is I don't know how many of the secondhand selling of a retic goes to an even better keeper.
You never know.
Really, like when things show up like a Craigslist, I don't know how many times a Craigslist snake is going into a better situation.
Same could be said about python.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's
That's any
thousands of
animal.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we've all seen it at a show. We've all seen somebody come in, talk to a vendor forever. Vendor gives them all this advice. They buy an animal, and a month later, they're like, my snake won't eat. And you're like, okay, well, send me a picture of the setup. And it's in a 40 breeder with the fucking heat light. And you're like, you completely ignored everything I told you to do.
Yep.
That reminds me, I
And-
need to reach out to someone I saw a rainbow to. He messaged me and the rainbow hasn't been eaten. He hasn't messaged me back in a while. But I told him it came from a tub inside of a rack, and you put it into a tank that is much bigger, even though it has the hides and all this. I was like, it's a completely different environment. It's like, put it back in something small. And I know a lot of people want to give their animal this huge, wonderful thing, but sometimes snakes want to be in something small.
Yep.
Like
Mhm.
you always hear people bitch about like racks and smaller cages, but if you take an animal and you put it in a bigger cage and it doesn't eat versus you take an animal and put it in a smaller cage and it does eat, which situation is better? Right. And then you get to like adult retics, and we'll get to our question in a minute. So maybe that's another thing. It's same retics, retics. I see it with boas. They're not in big enough cages sometimes. And that's another issue with the bigger snakes, is that they're just not given enough space.
Yeah.
No.
I want a retic, but along with a lot of people that voice their opinion on this question, I just don't have space for a retic. There was a part there where I was going to get one, and I'm in like two or three retic groups. And I'm like, I'm going to do this, and then I got to like No, I gotta be smart. I don't have the space for a retic as much as I want
There's
one.
always space.
That's what he says.
Always.
Dax is like, I've got it
Always.
figured out. I can help you with
Dax,
that.
I keep mostly stand boas, so slight size difference.
Somehow, some way, he always finds space. Hence, contacting Robert. Robert, I need another rack. Robert.
Robert can make it happen.
I just play Tetris in the baby room. I have enough room for 3 slots. That's it. But I got it though. I got to get a ladder to it, but I'll get it though. Don't worry about it. But yeah, always finding space.
So let's go ahead and bring this question up. We'll go over the question and then we'll talk about it. I'll talk through some of the answers and then we'll talk about it and then we can go more into it because I'd like to talk about big snakes. But the question was, if you had the space to properly keep a large constrictor like a retic or a berm, would you? Why or why not? And I won't go through reading all of them because most of them said the exact same thing. Most of them were no, which surprised me, but a lot of them were no because they figured they could keep more of something else in the same space it would take to keep a retic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. My friend is in Thailand right now herping, and the shit they're finding. Look at this, man.
Oh, that looks dangerous.
It's called a beautiful viper.
It is very beautiful.
That's its
It
name.
looks like a herps viper.
Dude, that thing is
Green and purple.
yeah.
You have to look later.
Ooh, I need to see that picture later.
That's what you get for being on the other side of the table. It's a viper and it's green and purple.
Really? I need to see that picture later.
Yeah.
But
I'll get another one.
He does not need to see that picture, Robert.
But the one thing I did like about most of the people saying no was, and with most of our listeners, you're going to get people that are responsible. They understand their limitations. I think that's an area with any species, not even just with the large constrictors.
Mhm.
Understanding your limitations is a big thing. We I talked before we got on here, and I'll talk about it later on. I'm starting a zoo at my school. I've mentioned it before, and I've had a lot of people reach out with wanting to offer animals for it. And I've had a handful of people reach out with things that I just know are limitations for the situation won't work. Like some people offered panther chameleons. I love panther chameleons. I've owned one, but I know that in a high school where kids are going to be in charge of stuff, that's probably not the best thing to happen. And also in a situation where I don't know really how well the temperatures are going to hold in that area and how well humidity is going to hold, I probably don't want to start out with a panther chameleon. And so I think knowing your limitations are good. And a lot of people on here said no because of that. Or like our friend April, who used to be my co-host here, she said she has a berm but rehomed a retic. She says she's forever alone. Poor April. And she started getting the retics started getting slightly spicy, so she didn't think she could handle it by herself. So she got rid of it for safety reasons, which is probably also good, so you don't end up with that fucking video that goes around Facebook now every month or two. Everybody knows it's the one stupid woman who doesn't know how to read a snake. Everyone watching that video is like, hey, this retic's about to bite this woman, and then it bites this woman. But plus most of them said no, which would surprise me. But I think it also takes a certain person to want an 11, 12, 13-foot snake.
Yeah, it's definitely a niche item.
Yeah, none of them were no, those snakes are horrible. They were just all again, a lot of the folks that are our followers have a niche they fall into, and that would take up too much space for the stuff they do want. Yeah. And they just wanted more space for the other stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of them. Now Jason Brumley said, I've kept berms in the past and have no interest in doing that again. If I have the space for a larger species, the only thing I would do is an apodora, which is a cool snake. That's for anyone that hadn't, it's an odd snake to explain. It's got this like smushed bulldog face. It gets like 13 foot long and it's as thick around as a carpet pipe. It's a weird snake.
Which one is it?
The apodora.
Oh,
but it's a sizable snake. So I would love to have a retic if I had a room. Like if I could set up like a zoo exhibit type thing for a retic with like a big fake tree, because I would love to see a 13-foot snake climb. Because they do it in the wild to get those. That's why they're not shaped like a rock python or a berm. They're shaped like a retic because they can climb trees. But I'm not going to donate or put an entire room for one snake. I'm just not doing that. As cool as it would be. So why do y'all do retics?
Go ahead, baby.
Yeah, it's I like any like I just love big animals, like big dogs. Everything I need has got to be big. So little snakes like corn snakes and king snakes and rainbow boas and stuff like that. Oh, anything small like that, it's not fun.
I get
So
that.
for me to take these things out, and of course with her next to me, I never take anything out, or we never work with anything without each other that's over 10 feet. So it's just to get them out, and it's like the best. Like we let some of ours out, and they roam the house. There's some that they know they have to go into the shower, and they literally will go straight to the bathtub, and they'll go in and stay there. And one of ours actually goes in, comes out, and goes right back into her enclosure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just cool. It's weird. She's a good girl, but I just like it bigger. It's just little snakes, kind of boring after a while. You get to hold these, and you can do whatever you want with them, and they really don't care. They try to get away, and they're so inquisitive, and it's just cool watching them try to climb the wall and fall down every time. So,
How long have you kept them?
we haven't been
2
keeping
years.
them long. 2 years.
Yeah.
See, and it's funny. A lot of the older keepers, so someone's been keeping like as long as me or longer. When they hear retic, they still have the old image of like they all want to fucking kill you. Because that was that for the longest time early on, because a lot of them were imports. It was they all want to kill you, and now they've been bred so much that, I mean, you may still get one that's April had one that was not wanting to be held, but they're a lot different now than they were in 2003.
Yeah.
Right, and so
You understand that at least some people don't, and some people still come with that attitude to the table, and it's like, and then I have people like this weekend. There was a gentleman at the table, and he was like, "I used to have them such a long time ago, and I remember I getting bit every day from one or two or three of them when I had them, and then he's like, it's probably the same now." And I'm like, "No," I said, "I can open any door to any display here. I will let you grab them, and you will not get bit by a single one."
yeah, I mean,
and that's because we handle all of ours, even though we have so many of them. We still play with them and make time for them every day. I mean, it's literally it's another job.
so Darren Watson asked, "Did y'all start with retics or something smaller?"
We had ball pythons and a boa before we started retics.
Yeah, ball pythons can make you want to keep anything else. That's
and so well, Rachel knows the story, but we had gone to an ARBC. He gave me a spending limit, and he said, "Here's $800. You can buy any snake you want." So I'm looking at ball pythons, looking around, nothing's catching my eye. And finally, we walk past this aisle again, and I see this iridescence, and I was like, "I want that one." And he goes, "Fuck no, that's a retic. We're not doing it." Nope.
Which is the proper response.
He says they get too big. I'm not doing that. This thing's going to be like 16 to 18 feet. TJ, who was the producer of the retic that we got, he was like, "Give me 10 minutes. I'll educate you. I promise you they're not going to get that big if you keep a male. So let us know." Dax rebuttals with, "Well, he costs $950 and you only have an $800 spending limit." And I said, "Here's the extra $150. I want this snake." So then he's like, well, we don't have, $400 for an enclosure right now. I said, "I'll go buy it. Where do I need to go? Who am I seeing right now? I want this enclosure. I want this snake. We're going to get it." So we started with Loki, who is our Motley Golden Child. And
I was about to say, when you said iridescence, I bet it's a golden child.
Yep. And we started with him. And then a month later, we had 2 or 3 more. Another month later, we had like 3 more. They're like Pringles. You can't just have one. They're just.
Nope.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
I remember seeing one of the first golden childs at Daytona in like 2005. I'm thinking, well, that's a really cool fucking snake. Too bad it gets 18 foot. That was my thought. I was like, that's going to be a big ass snake. But I remember Nerd had it on their table. And I was like, that's a cool looking snake. And it's so cool now what people have done with golden child. And they've been around forever now. And so you see some of these bigger ones. It's even neater and as an 18-foot snake versus as a small baby. I say small. There is no such thing as a small baby retic. But I mean, how big do they come out when they hatch?
I'd say about a foot.
But not a little bit bigger, but 18. Probably
Less than 18 inches.
yeah.
I'd say about 14 to 16 inches.
Yeah. See, I'm having Samboas born here. That's a lot bigger than my baby Samboas. They're like 6 inches.
Well, Loki is 2 years old now, and he's about almost 7 foot.
Yeah.
And he is the most docile baby ever.
So
he
sweet.
will roam the floors. He roams the floors with our corgis, which Hence the man who says he has to have all big animals loves corgis. But
I can't get my Tibetan Mastiff, so.
So you're doing
But,
something
I
wrong.
mean-
If your retic's only 7 foot, that means you're not feeding it every 4 days a large rat and
Oh,
it should
hell
be
no.
like 25
No.
feet.
Yeah.
Jeez,
That's
what am
it.
I doing here?
It should have fat rolls. I mean, it should look like everyone else's big snake.
Theoretically.
No, we don't do that. And that's the funny part, because a friend of ours, Jake, we did his podcast, and he agreed with me. I mean, he's very into overseas videos of animals and stuff like that. So he's got videos of retics that are thin as anything, 14 feet long, and have no problem, healthy as anything.
Oh yeah.
And it's people, but I just don't get the obsession with feeding something so much that it's just a bulbous animal at the end, and then it just I don't get the obsession with that. For me, keeping them nice and slender, and that's the way we do it. We keep them nice and slender. This way, the owner does what they want with it after it's sold and it's transferred out of our hands. But we try to remind everybody that we didn't do that on purpose to make it bigger. So we try to tell them not to do it as well. Just follow the maintenance feeding, and everything should be healthy for the snake. You should never have a problem. None of our snakes have ever given us problems health-wise. I mean, the RI here once or twice there, but they're in such healthy condition that we just raise the temps and throw in extra humidity, and it's gone in a day and a half, 2 days.
And we've talked about on here before that there's 2 reasons I see people getting things big and fat. One is with snakes, your number one way to interact with your snake is to feed it. And so a lot of people are used to social animals like dogs and cats, and they want to be able to interact, and they love watching. I can feed my snake, and it does. And so they love it to death sometimes. And then the other side of that is the guy that just wants to, his dick is small, so he needs a huge snake to make up for it. And so he's going to get it as big as possible so he can impress people.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
That's the guy you see carrying it down at the beach or something.
Yes.
Walking around.
Yeah. I feel like because some people say it's world's largest snake, that they literally have to make it the world's largest snake. That's not the
Exactly.
case.
Yeah, a 20-foot
animal
retic in the
healthy.
wild is old. That is an old snake.
Oh yeah, that is a very old snake.
People don't realize that, and keeping them lean and mean is the way we live on them, because they move, they're super inquisitive, they're not tired all the time, plus when they're done eating, we don't play with them for 3 days. I got a 3-day rule where once they're fed for 3 days, we don't touch them. We let them digest their food, we let them rest, we let them relax, and then after that we take them out, and it's just nothing but playtime with them. So I just don't get how somebody can just want to feed their snake every 4 days. And to me, I would never be able to handle it because of my rule.
Yeah.
So, and I don't get it. It's just ridiculous to me.
I think people they picture this giant snake and they don't think about the fact that it's technically a semi-arboreal snake. These things climb in the wild. Even at 15, 16, 17 foot, they can climb a tree. That's not something you're expecting an anaconda, a berm, or an African rock python to do, because they're not that kind of big snake. They're meant to be lean. They're meant to be nothing but straight muscle. And people want that huge fat snake so they can go look at my giants. I had a buddy that had a berm, and it was a 18-foot berm, male. Someone gave it back to him. It was his originally. They got it and they gave it back to him, and it was at 18 foot and a male. He didn't feed it for months. He had to put that thing on a diet. It was ridiculous.
Crazy.
Well, first I saw, I was like, that's an impressive female. And he goes, yeah, it's a male. And I was like, that's a ridiculous male.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's crazy. Yeah, some people do that. Some people rehome. I think I was talking to somebody this weekend who rehomed one, and they said they didn't feed it for about 3 months after, because of the fact that it was so fat that they had to just let it chill, and they took it out to go through the grass in their backyard every day, almost just to get some exercise.
That's how it was with our big doodles. She was so overweight. We had to feed her small meals for, probably the first 6-8 months.
Yeah, probably about 6. And now she looks great. She's a great size. She's a great eater. So
see, I had a boa once that I got that was kind of in a weird situation. They had obviously fed it a lot quickly, and its head did not grow to the right size. So it was at the size that it should eat like large rats, but the head was still small. So I was like, fuck. So I had to feed it like medium rats until the head could catch up. And by the time the head caught up, it was like 8.5 foot long.
oh my
I was
god.
like, fuck. And she wasn't fat at that point. She was just all muscle and huge, because I was like just trying to get her to look right. Because first time I got, I was like, this snake does not look right. The head is way too small for this body.
small.
Yeah, retics are supposed to have that nice
Yeah.
round muscular body, and when they start having the body of like a gaboon viper,
Yes.
where it's like, you know, a little half semi mushroom top, then it's just too much. And that's where people like, they're like, oh, you know, I'm feeding it 2 medium rats every 4 days. What are you doing? Stop.
We don't get it.
Stop.
We don't get it.
Well, I guess we talked earlier about so many retics are produced and you don't see a ton of adults. That's probably also a reason why you don't see a ton of adults. A bunch of them are probably dying from fatty livers and all sorts of stuff
Absolutely.
by 4 or 5 years old.
Absolutely.
Mhm. That happens. It happens a lot.
Mhm.
You know, but nobody listens. They don't. It's ridiculous. They don't care.
Well, and you said,
And that's, you know, that's when we vet our. That's how we do a lot of that stuff too, by vetting people out. You know, we just you know, because you could tell over aggressive people. You know, so
yes.
you know, we'll shy away from those people. You know, just kind of not pay attention to them a little bit. You know.
When you mentioned maintenance feeding earlier, and I feel a lot of people look at maintenance feeding as saying you're lazy and you don't feed your animals, but it's not. It's I do the same thing. I right now I'm kind of feeding some of my animals heavy because I know I'm going to go into breeding season, so I'm getting them some weight on them prior to breeding season. But after they breed, it'll be another 2 years before they breed again, and they will get a meal. Like my big female boas will get a meal once a month. Right now, they're getting one about every 10 days or so, just to put some weight on.
Yeah.
But we talked about one of our friends who sold a snake to someone. They get a ball python. They got the ball python. They immediately responded back and wanted to send it back to him because it was not big enough. And he explained, look, during the winter, I don't feed, and then I maintenance feed the rest of the year. Obviously, they wanted to breed that snake that year, and they never once asked him for size. And then a few weeks later, another friend of ours sent a snake to someone that she posted the weight of it, got to the guy, and he says it is not the right size, that it is supposed to be bigger, and that she lied, and that she's a scam artist. She's going to complain, yada, yada, yada. And
because they wanted to breed a
this year.
1.5-year-old 1,000 gram ball python this year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
That's something that I think it happens a lot more with ball python people than everyone else, but you see that a lot of people get upset because like my rainbow boa babies are a year old, but they are not big. And I had someone go, oh, I just explained the size. I go, well, they must not be good feeders. It's like, no, they eat great. I just am not going to pump these things full of food. I'm going to grow them a lot slower than you're going to grow most of whatever you're feeding.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're slow growers. We believe in that. That's our biggest thing is slow growing. I'd rather wait till the female is 3.5 to 4 years old, you know, because I mean we had to buy a couple of bigger girls, you know, for us to breed this year. So, you know, I wanted to make sure they were at least 3.5 to 4 years old or maybe older, you know, since, you know, they get expensive as they get bigger females. So we had to watch our, you know, money, but that's what I did. I didn't try to buy something at 3 and feed the hell out of it and hopefully it'll try. Just because I fed it so much, it didn't work out, you know. But you know, and now our babies, we do the same thing. We're just slow growing. Anything that comes out that we have is just slow growing. We don't try to rush anything and try to tell the customers the same thing too. I mean, we're trying to get everybody from that whole retic idea that they're bad, number one, and that they grow so big, and you know, because they see all these videos of people like, you know, that guy in California who feeds the snakes, you know. Everything possible, you know, but you know, and it's sad because we have customers who do that. We had a lady with her husband this weekend, you know, it's going to get 20 feet. I watched it in the video. She's terrified of it. And it's like, just because of that, you know, and that guy in California gives us a bad name, you know, so it's just, we try to promote slow growth, working with the animals. We let them know, you know, and that's one thing. And that's another thing we don't do is we don't sell any retics to anybody who hasn't worked with either a boa or something berm.
I had a children's python. I can do a retic.
I held a corn snake once.
Yeah, they're very similar.
But only if you can feed them like vegetables and stuff. If you have to feed them rats, I'm out.
Can I feed a whole heads of cabbage?
I have had that question twice in the last couple of months.
Yeah, somebody asked if they could feed them carrots.
Yeah, somebody asked us, are there any snakes here that don't eat meat? Because I'm a vegan and I don't believe that. I'm like, you're looking for the wrong. You're
in the wrong building. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. Even the ones that eat fish are still carnivores.
There was someone at the Longview show and she walked past our booth and she said, "These are so beautiful." She's like, "But I have pet rats and I just don't think I could ever do it." And I'm just like, oh man, if only you could see our freezer downstairs.
I know, right? I was gonna say, all of our freezers.
I love folks that are all like, I know I don't want to feed the people that feed like dogs vegetarian food drives me nuts. I'm like, that's millions of years of evolution to become a canine. You're like, you know what? You don't get meat anymore. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
And so the person wanting an animal that doesn't eat meat. Well, I got a redfoot tortoise in the other room that's a vegetarian, but he'll tear apart a Pinky Mouse if I give it to him.
Yep.
We gave
Really?
we gave our
redfoots love meat.
Our box turtle a Pinky last night, and she immediately
She loves them.
Yeah, I mean it's instantaneous.
I've never seen that.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, my redfoot, I give it a pink. I mean, it starts biting into it and then takes its front claws and ripping it apart.
Yeah, like,
Oh, they love them.
That's awesome. I've never seen that.
But yeah,
we can remedy
the other problem with people when it comes to retics is retics put on size quick if you feed them a lot. They are a snake that will put on a lot of size in a very short amount of time. Because I've seen people with like 2-year-old retics and they're over 10 foot already. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like the things are massive, and because they'll eat. That's another problem is you don't really see retics that like refuse food. No one. I assume you get very few people emailing you going, "Hey, my retic won't eat."
Unless the husbandry is wrong, then there's really no issues. I mean, we've had a couple, customers who have bought, not from us, but just bought and messaged us with questions because we're around their area. My retic won't eat. Okay, what's your husbandry? How do you have it set up? Do you have, what's going on? Where is it at? And so once we got those things fixed, I mean, some of them were finicky, and even with the husbandry on point, one of them would only eat in the dark. So you literally had to put the rat in and shut the lights off and leave it alone, and then he would eat. So
I mean, I have some snakes that are kind of like that. You just have to give it to him and walk away.
Yeah.
Turn the light off, come back in like 10, 15 minutes.
That's so much better than one where the babies, like I've had a baby Sambos that were just finicky. And I've seen a lot of people do this like green trees and stuff. You get them to bite it, and then all of a sudden, if the one day they do take it, you're like, you freeze. And then you have to stand there for 30 minutes not moving until it swallows the food. Because the moment you move, it's going to drop that shit and you're done. I've done that before. I'm like, fuck, now I can't move. I was listening to Justin on the Herpculture podcast, and he was talking about he did it one day. And then as soon as it took it, he realized he had to pee. And so he had to stand there holding himself, trying not to pee, waiting for the snake to eat.
Oh my God.
I will say baby retics can be difficult to get eating. It's a love-hate relationship.
But they're one of those, like, once they start eating, you're good.
Then they're good. Yeah, once they start, they're good. But it's the process of getting them to start eating and going through the live or going through the frozen thawed or doing the assist feeding or having to do the force feed, when sometimes the force feed can be more detrimental than helpful. So it's kind of weighing hand and foot, depending on how big the yolk is that they absorbed, and, how long or how fast they're going to eat. It just depends, but they're a pain in the ass.
I think also when it comes to retics, each species has its own kind of weird things you have to handle with as far as keeper wise. Ball pythons, I think the biggest thing we're facing now is people just trying to breed stuff too early. People don't have any patience. And
See you tomorrow, Sean.
Oh, Sean's.
Hi, Sean.
Yeah, bye, Sean.
Bye, Sean.
That's the biggest thing with ball pythons is they just want to, they want to get to breeding. And they got to breed them so much. Retics, their problem is, again, we talked about people just want them big. And for a long time in the hobby, they were kind of a fringe species, and that the people that owned them were the guys all covered in tattoos and weird, and they just wanted like this status symbol type thing. And that was kind of the group that had them. And then, as much as social media is a pain in the ass, and certain people on social media are a pain in the ass towards certain parts of the hobby, it kind of became more accepted in the pet trade because of how visual. You saw them all over YouTube. You see them all over Facebook. People are always posting videos of them now because they come in 7 trillion different colors, and that's great. It grows the hobby. But then you get a lot of people in there where we talk about they just want a big snake. This is a big snake, and so now you got to deal with. It's not so much they're trying to get up to breeding size; they're just trying to get up to impressive size. Yeah. I don't have that problem with Sambo. Like, there's not a group of Sambo who are like, oh man, I got to feed this Sambo so much so we can get it huge. It doesn't really happen. So it's got to be tricky when selling to folks. I mean, it has become more, I guess, accepted as a family style reptile, whereas before it was definitely when people expected of reptile people in the hobby, those were the kind of people that were owning retics originally, right?
Yeah.
but now they're definitely more common. So you just have to educate people more on, because again, we talked about one dumbass, it's all over YouTube. Every one of his giant retics, every time he shoots a video, are coming after his face, and he thinks it's hilarious. And that's something you have to fight as someone who breeds and sells. A kid wants a retic, or not every kid, but a teenager who's done their research and knows what they're doing. And then their parent goes, no, because that's the only video they've seen of a retic trying to eat somebody as you took it off of eggs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we do that. We do that a majority of the show is we're not, like I was telling Robert, we don't do the shows to sell and make money. We're there to educate people, create customers along the line. Because some people will listen to us and actually go out and buy a boa, or they'll go out and buy a carpet python or something. And, since they've worked with ball pythons already, they'll increase, their level. And some of them are like, all right, we'll do that and we'll call you back in a year or so. And some people have, since we first started, and they're like, we got that boa, it's bigger now. We understand, or we bought a berm and he was kind of bigger. And, so we get that. But like I said, we're there to educate people. That's our biggest thing, because it's sad when I have people come to my table and I hate it. It's when some women are like, oh my God, that snake's so beautiful. And the husband's like, that thing gets 30 feet. We're not getting that. And I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, it doesn't get 30 feet. I'm like, nah. I said, I don't know who told you that. But
more than you would.
Mm-hmm. It's the hardest thing to do, because it's just like, they've been so crossbred. And so many different bloodlines have been introduced into them. Yes, they do get big. I'm not going to say they don't, but they don't get 25 feet. They don't get 20-something feet. They're like the ones they show in the wild. Those like you said before, those animals are old.
Yeah.
They've been out there for a very long time, longer than some of us have probably been alive. But it's just hard. But that's what we're there for. We're there to educate people, and maybe down the line, I'd rather have somebody come to me in 2 years and say, listen, I've worked with a boa for the last 2 years. She's up to 8 or 9 foot, and I know she's gonna get a little bigger, but I want to get my retic now. And I'll be like, all right, cool. Now you put the work in for something big. You understand these are going to be a little more inquisitive. So, we try to tell them that. The only difference that with the boas, and I'd rather deal with that than have somebody come up to my table and, I want to buy it right now. Well, have you an experience? No. Well, sorry, I'm not going to sell you it.
You can be like, nope.
We'll turn down a sale if people haven't had experience with the correct size animal. If they're like, oh, I got a baby ball python at home. Sorry.
Which is great, because that's not something you see in the hobby very often. That was when I voiced my concern earlier, is there's so many people that will lie to a customer to make a sale. And there's certain animals you just can't afford to do that with. And to me, retics are definitely in that category of things. You can't lie to someone and then get it to them, because it's not going to be good for the animal. It's not going to be good for the person. Plus, if you sell someone a retic as their first pet snake, there's a good chance you've just lost someone from the hobby for good, because in 2-3 years, when it's more than they can handle, they're going to go, well, I can't do this. And they completely leave the hobby. Whereas if they had just entered in with something smaller and worked their way up, they could have been a lifelong person in the hobby and really grown to love the animals. And so it's very tricky. And I've always said, I sit on two sides of this argument. One, do you buy something easier to take care of and work your way into what you want? Or do you just go ahead and do all the research and then get what you want? And with the certain animals, I think you can do that. Like Dominique DeFalco, she started with a green tree. Before she got her green tree, she did shit tons of research before she got it. But that's different than doing shit tons of research and then getting a snake that gets 15 foot.
Yes.
Right? You're right with a boa or a coastal carpet python, something that's going to get some size, move, something that you're going to have to learn how to handle, because there's a certain way to handle larger snakes, like
blue beauties.
Your blue beauty. There's certain ways to handle them. And if you don't have that practice as they're growing up, that's the other people, they don't buy adults. Don't let your first animal be the adult of anything.
Please God, no.
Of anything. Don't, with ball pythons, sorry.
No, I did it with my doom rails and my blue beauties. My first ones were both adults, and now I have babies with both of the same species.
But you had owned other snakes prior to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for a couple
it's
of
not
years.
going in and not owning anything and then getting a 15-foot female adult.
Yeah.
Well, like
pretty
I
well
know,
take
like
her home.
retic has never been on my line of sight. Like it was never something I was very interested in. But having spent time with Dax and Taylor and learning what I have learned from them, I could see myself one day having, a retic. It's not something that I would want massive amounts of. Just I think one would be kind of cool, just to have. I think they're neat. I've enjoyed, playing with the different ones that Taylor's brought up of her own, and my husband's shaking his head at
I
me.
was wondering
over
at what point she was going to discuss this with me.
I have to discuss it with you.
All for 20-something years.
That's a good question from Darren.
That's another thing we do is whenever somebody comes to our table and they're like, all right, we're ready to go. We always point them to the males to stay smaller.
Yes.
We tell them first off, you don't want to get a female. And they're like, oh, why not? And I'm like, because it's just way too much still. You get the male, deal with him, and then from there you can get the female and then work from there. Grow them up, you'll learn the animal, everything will be fine. But we always push the males on, and even for pets, I have people who come to me and they're like, we just want one retic. We're looking for one in particular. You have it, okay. We want it for a pet. Okay, it's a female though I have, and they're like, all right, we'll take it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sell you a female. I'd rather sell you a male just for the pet, as the fact that the size, you're going to call me back in 2 years with a 9-foot snake. And you're going to be like, I can't do this. So it's much easier with the male.
As a pet.
Yeah, so we do that too.
I feel like you've had this conversation. I tell me if I'm right. So someone comes up, you suggest a male, and they say, why not a female? And then you tell them it gets so large, and the next answer is, that's exactly what I want.
Oh, we get those, and I will turn away from them.
Yeah, that's the person that just wants something to impress.
Those are the people who are going to feed it, two baby goats every 4 days.
Yeah, and we get those people.
It'll be a male. For me, it'll be a male.
Guys. I've had a couple of guys come up to me and say, yeah, I got on a retics like 5 or 6 years ago. I remember my last one I power fed that thing so much that it grew to like 18 feet. And then I'm like, oh, okay. All right, hold on. I got to take this call. And I'm not even grabbing the phone. I just turn around.
And then I'm like, oh, Rachel.
Like, save me. I need you.
I tried to get Robert to save me at Conroe, and he wasn't even paying attention. I do a lot. He was right next to me, and I'm texting him. And I just started texting gibberish, trying to get his attention.
He did.
This crazy woman came up, and what was it? I had a children's python on my table, and she goes, "This looks just like a water moccasin." I was like, "Oh God, okay." Wow. And then it just got worse and worse. And then she started going into how the 5G towers are giving people cancer and they're illegal and they shouldn't even be there and we should burn them down. And I'm like, holy fuck, why am I stuck here talking to this person? No one's coming to me. I'm just texting Robert away. He's literally like 3 feet away. And I'm just like, fucker, come on. Nothing. Yeah, it was. Oh, sometimes you just
He gets his in his investigative states on the computer.
Yes.
I watch him. He's like,
or he's stuck at the table because Rachel is socializing.
Networking. There's a difference.
When I'm like, okay, I've had to go pee for 3 fucking hours. Rachel, can you please come over here?
Actually, he's like, have you seen Rachel? And I'm like, she's around here somewhere. I don't know.
You know what it is? We need you guys to sell our stuff because the women sell everything for us. I don't sell a damn thing. I think I've sold one snake in all the expos.
You did. You sold one.
Literally one. She sells everything.
Yeah.
So Darren has a good question. Darren says, if grown properly, how long should it take for a retic, probably female, to reach 15 foot?
3 years, 3.5 years.
Yeah, if you maintenance feed her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not a year and a half, because I'm pretty sure people can do it. They can get that thing done.
I'm sure you can.
I'm sure you could in a year and a half.
Sure you can.
Is your snake going to be morbidly obese and have a fatty liver and die 5 years later? Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't know that. Yeah, it takes a little time if you maintenance feed.
3 to 3.5 years. We have our biggest female. She is 5 years old, and she's 15.5 feet and 85 pounds, but not overweight. She's pure muscle. She is perfectly good for breeding. She had last season off. Her first breeding, she laid 42 eggs, no slugs. Her second breeding, she laid 47 eggs, no slugs.
Oh wow!
So
it'll be 50 this year. So
yeah.
So
yeah, we got
I need another incubator.
Yeah, we got her from Sal Valletta, and he's amazing with what the stuff he keeps, and especially the older stuff. he keeps everything super tight, and you don't ever see like a bad baby from him or a bad adult that's overweight or anything.
No.
So
See,
we have a couple of things from him. So
that's the other concern I have, though, when it comes to retics as a more popular breeding project for people, is versus ball pythons or other things. Ball pythons, you're getting 7, 8, 10 eggs, whereas retics or berms, you're getting close to the 50s, and that's so many babies. And then you get some people that get into that, and they're not like you. They get 50 eggs hatching, and they go, I gotta get these sold, and they will sell them by any means necessary. And that's when I get really worried for parts of the hobby.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's oversaturation, then we get it. But what we do is I'm like the Frankenstein retic guy. I like my female with 6 genes, and I like my male with 5 genes.
And I'm more simplistic.
Yeah, she's more simplistic on the genes, but I like to know that if I'm going to have 45 eggs, that I'm going to have at least each one of them is going to be sort of different in each way.
Yeah,
they're not going to be 10 normals, 10 motleys, 10 golden childs, and then you got the motley golden childs, and that finishes it up because it's so many. You go to a table, you can't sell 10 of each animal so quickly. It's not a quick turnaround. So what I like to do is get all them genes and all them morphs together. This way, every animal I have has either 5 or 6 genes in it, 4, 3, 2, 1. And for me, it's perfect because you put those on the table, they all look different.
Yeah. So what we did when we got all of our breeders ready and built up for our seasons is we went through before buying the snake and we said, okay, I need this snake to be compatible with at least 3/4 of our females. Is that going to work? No? Okay. Well, then it's not going to work with us because we did it that way so that we can have completely different morphs and snakes on the table every single season. And all of our males and females are compatible and interchangeable with each other. So
Awesome.
whether it's a het or a codom, like it's going to work with every single snake that we have, and we'll always have something different on the table.
Yeah, that's how I do it with like my boas. My boa constrictors, I'm at least 3 genes. And then there's several codom genes in boas, so it makes it really easy to do that kind of stuff. But I like to have at least 3 genes because I want a litter where it's like Christmas. I don't know what I'm going to get. Huh?
Did you just say codom?
Incomplete dominance. My bad.
Okay.
But I had a litter once that was nothing but sun glows and super sun glows. And that motherfucker litter, that was hard to sell because they come to the table and it's just a bunch of white and red snakes and they all look the same. And I'm like, and I get it. I mean, I would probably go, yeah, that's cool to keep walking too. It's a lot of the same stuff. So I don't want to ever run into that again. I want to have I want to have a variety on the table. Plus it's fun for me. I'm sure for you, when the eggs start to hatch, you're like, oh man, look at this. This is different than this one. This one's different than this one. And something different in every egg versus the same thing. Right. So I get that. That's definitely something I want to do. Let's see. Victor says, my question is, how can you identify any of those single genes when they are mixed up with others?
I'm definitely better at the morphs than he is. So the identification, even when they're mixed up, there are key factors for each morph on what it looks like. So it's pretty easy to identify some of those key factors. Like GC is going to wash out any pattern most of the time, or it's going to have what I like to call like the sprinkle effect. It's those tiny little dots on the dorsal. So I mean, there's the tiger is going to have the long, rosettes, or the super tiger is going to have the 3 long stripes. So with mixing in those patterns, you could still have some of the morphs visible, whereas sometimes you don't know. So you can say, hey, this could be a golden child phantom, but it could possibly be a tiger. We just don't know because you can't see it.
Gotcha.
So some of them are identifiable, some are not, but it's like playing God. You get to create things, but you don't really know what you're going to get until.
All I know is when I have my babies with when the female and the male get together with 6 genes, I probably have just pink snakes.
Yeah, so. That's the reason why I like simplicity, because you can take a female that's got maybe 4 or 5 morphs and take a male that's got 1 or 2, and you're not going to have just a yellow snake. Like we have some beautiful albino titaniums from our good friend Keith, and the longest morph one is albino platinum titanium super sun-fired tiger. Super tiger, sorry. But it's a bright yellow snake. There's nothing on it.
Yeah,
White stripe
at
on
some
it.
point, and that happens with some of the ball
Nothing.
pythons. I've
Yes.
seen with some of the ball pythons, you get so many genes and they just become, well, especially if you deal with
washes
anything like the
everything
bell in
out.
that bell complex, it just becomes white. Like you
Yeah.
can have 5 million genes, but it's still just a white snake.
It just washes
Mhm.
everything out.
Yeah.
So you really don't know, like, okay, I know what's in it because here was the sire, here was the dame. But for someone, who doesn't know those things, they just see a yellow snake. So they're like, oh, it's probably nothing special. When indeed it's like insane
Carries a
morphs
lot.
and carries everything.
Yeah.
How do you
Right.
handle selling possible heads? Everybody has kind of their own way of whether they
We
admit
don't
them or
charge
not.
for the pos heads.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I most of the time we won't even label the process.
Nope.
Because
Yeah,
I don't like the fact of giving something to somebody that I don't know about. So that I can do that with every snake then if I wanted to. That's like with the super dwarf and the dwarf thing going on right now in the whole.
I was going to bring that up in a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's how could I don't get how you could sell somebody something when you're not even sure. The seller is not even sure. Is there a chance? Okay, great. You know what? You got the snake 5 years down the line. It proves out. Awesome for you. I would be so happy. I would just be like, cool, you got it in purple. Great. That's awesome. But some breeders, they want to put down everything that's for it. And again, it's good for maybe for knowing the history of the snake and what could possibly come out.
Yeah.
But some breeders do charge for it.
As far as us charging for it, we just don't do it. For us, it's like, all right, so it is, if we tell someone, all right, perfect, you're getting a motley GC, it's pus head albino, we're not, you won't know until you prove it out. If they call us and they're like, man, it just hit and I got albino, it's absolutely fantastic. You just got $100 off your snake that you purchased 2 years ago. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way when it comes to like boas. If it's a possible head albino, I'd let somebody know, but I wouldn't charge extra because
Exactly.
I'd hate to charge extra and then 3 years down the road everything comes out normal. I'm like, no, sucks for you.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. We had our genetic stripe female this year lay and waiting for the babies, and they all came out normal. And I was like, well, I guess she wasn't head albino.
No, it is what it is. We took it in stride, and but again, we will tell the person, but as far as a monetary issue, we won't charge anything like that. Because
So-
some of the heads are expensive. I mean, we have the ocelot head. We have one of those, and that head's very expensive. And so is a rennet ghost. They're pricey heads.
oh yeah.
But when it comes to pos heads, we let the people know, but we don't charge for stuff like that.
I hate buying possets because I hate the possibility of producing a posset, but I have two boas they're actually siblings a year off from each other. They're both possible head albinos. But if I buy a posset animal, visually it has to look great visually already.
Yes.
Like I have to be okay with if I produce this and don't get whatever I'm hoping that it's possibly het for, I still need to really like whatever it has.
Mhm.
Like and you see so many people will buy ugly snakes because they're het or possible het something else. I'm like, stop buying ugly snakes to put into breeding projects. With boas it happens so much, especially with anything albino. It happens a lot of times because albino can hide a lot of ugly. Because albino will cover a lot of like speckling if you don't like speckling, and cover a lot of stuff. And I see it with boas all the time because people they'll go buy an albino and they'll find some whatever off of Craigslist and they'll breed it together. I'm like, stop breeding ugly shit just because you can. Like, put some thought into it. Todd asked Dax, what's your favorite gene, mixed or not?
It's marble.
Marble hands down. Probably marble and I would say orange glow are my two top
Can't
favorites.
take mine.
That's before you.
Bullshit.
Anyway, orange glow, and definitely orange glow and marble. I love the way marble just destroys every
It
pattern.
pixelates.
Yeah, it just pixelates everything and just destroys it. And just looks like somebody just took a marker and just scribbled all over it. It's cool.
It looks like kind of, if you remember, like on the old Windows PCs when it would have like this pixelation and it would kind of go out.
Oh yeah.
Just think that's what marbling does. It kind of takes the pattern and like makes it look like this computer graphic that just got blown up in slow motion.
See, Taylor, you mentioned my favorite retic morph earlier, and it's gonna be very boring. I love tiger. It was because when I got into reptiles, that was it. It was normal retics and tiger
Tigers.
retics. That's all you had. But to me,
Yep.
like tiger is one of those genes. As it gets older, it just looks so much. It still looks really, really cool. Like it doesn't change. The pattern looks amazing. It's got that soft like carpet look to it. I love them.
Tigers are good. Yeah.
I don't think we have any big tigers, just tigers.
Yeah.
The Houston Zoo has one. The Houston Zoo has a huge tiger retic in there. I'm like,
no, they're beautiful.
It's just
They're
so
gorgeous.
cool when
they
they're
really
full
are.
So
And
does the
normals are some of our favorites too.
Normals are great.
So does the aquarium restaurant downtown, except it's kept in a concrete box and it usually has stuck shed all over it, and they don't give a shit. Lots of people have brought it up to them, and they're like, "We have a herpetologist on staff, so we're going to listen to him."
Do they have a herpetologist, or do they have a dude that owns a ball python?
Where's this place at?
The dishwasher? Oh, boy.
I need to go.
Yeah.
It's
downtown
Houston. Have at it. I haven't been there yet. I need to go.
Been
It's
there.
actually it's a Landry's owned.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
owned by Tillman Fertitta. So
It's a restaurant with like an aquarium in it, right?
yeah,
And then a
the
giant
aquarium-
Ferris wheel.
The aquarium's awesome. There's also one in Kima.
Don't they have a white tiger too?
They do. They have two
Yeah.
of them, and they had them in a terrible enclosure forever until there was enough uproar that they built them a whole new, pretty nice enclosure last year.
Oh, cool. Except the retic is still in shit cage.
I think
Got
it's
it.
actually like 4 retics in one cage, but
I will say for the Houston Zoo, they have the cage they have the 2 huge retics in is an awesome cage for retics because I mean they can climb and it's got like the water feature. It's a big old cage. It's massive. But I just love how full grown tigers look. I just remember as a kid because again that was it. It was that's like with berms. There's so many things in berms now, but my favorite berm morph is patternless greens because as a kid that was it. That was you had patternless greens. And I just think it's an awesome looking snake.
Yeah, those are nice.
So so we hit on it earlier, and I wanted to get to it. One other issue I find in retics, it's not issues as in like this is bad. None of this stuff is like I want everybody to understand. At no point are there any reptiles where I think people shouldn't sell them. I just think people need to do it responsibly, and this is one of them. But dwarfs and super dwarfs are an area where we talked earlier about people will do anything to sell a snake. And it is so easy for folks to lie their fucking ass off when it comes to dwarfs and super dwarfs. And they sell this super dwarf to someone, and the super dwarf is 17 foot in a few years.
Yep.
And I'm like,
we tell people over and over and over, if you are interested in a dwarf or a super dwarf, get your lineage, get papers, get documentation, look at pictures of the parents. Get everything that you can possibly from this breeder, and if they don't have it, don't get it.
I want to say I heard Garrett Hartle say once that to really get it to carry that gene over, the female has to be the super dwarf in a breeding pair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you'll see people get like this super dwarf male and breed it to this 17-foot female. You're like, all right, well, great. You just made a mutt. Good job. Enjoy your big mutt.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you could always bring those back though because of the percentages. So we're doing that actually this year.
Well, the thing is no matter what, if you're putting even a high percentage super dwarf male to a mainland female that's 17 feet, you still have to take that average. You can still have a female up to 17 feet.
Yeah.
It's, you just have to take that female and male average. Okay, here's a mom who was 16 feet and the dad was 10 feet. Well, I'm still going to have a larger snake. Maybe the female will be 14 feet, but that's still a dwarf. It's
the localities and super dwarf thing is crazy. I'm learning more and more from a couple of people that Chris McVicker's one. I've sat down with Garrett and spoke a couple of times with him about it. It's all it's these smaller islands where these snakes are coming from. So the food is not guaranteed like a mainland. It's scarce. And over generations and generations, they tend to stay smaller. But you can feed them, and they do get bigger. Some of them.
I've heard you can power feed one still and still make it a big snake.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like that gene is still in there for it to grow. It's just on the islands they're kept small.
It's not available for them
and
to eat as often.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is that with the super dwarfs and the dwarfs, you want to keep a good maintenance, diet with them as well because of that fact that they could possibly get bigger. And there's dwarfs out there that are big size. Jampayas get up to 14, 16 feet. Those are dwarfs. So that's I think the Pearl line is one of the lines that were the biggest ones. Sulawesi's get big. There's a lot of dwarfs again that get bigger, and people need to be educated on that. We have and the percentages. I believe looking at the parents is the best way to do it. We follow that rule because of the fact that we have a couple of dwarfs here. We have a female Sunfire at Snowhead Purple. She is only 12 foot at how old?
12 feet, and she's
7
years old.
She's 7
wow.
years old. Yeah, and she's not big at all. She's not big at all. Not that big. But she's small. She's tiny. She's over there on the floor right now. And but her parents were from Vital Exotics, who was a company were phenomenal with dwarf and super dwarf retics. And her parents were small. And we just got a male who's 10 years old, and he's only 8 foot.
7, 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Now, yeah, we'll put those together and we'll create Anneries and Snows, and we're going to go on the parents on that one because of the fact that that's and the percentage for my female, how small she is. She's only a 25% calato, and she's small. And I've seen 50% calato who are bigger than her. So we like to go on the parent size, and we like to see parents, or if the breeder has the parents, and that's another thing. We tell people, if you're going to deal with the breeders and who have dwarfs and super dwarfs, answer the parents. And if they say they can't prove the parents or show the parents, kind of take a little caution to the wind with that. Because you want to know what's going on. So another, like I said, a good friend of ours, Chris McVicker, he's got all his parents, all his dwarf and super dwarf stuff. He's got it all, and all the parents to all the babies that he has. So he, we work with him as well. He's given us a couple of animals to get rid of for him. And, it's the first thing, that's what I do. I show the customer, I'm like, here's mom, here's dad. Mom's 10, 11 feet, and dad's 8 and 9. So you can figure somewhere in that range of what you're going to get.
That's one of those areas, though, when it comes to retics, it becomes very shady, and you have to be very careful with who you buy from. I've seen it a tons of times where it happens. And especially when, one, you get math involved. And I'm always, so when it comes to reptiles, when it comes to breeding, it's amazing how many people automatically now feel like they're a genius geneticist.
I'm literally reading a post right now on World of Ball Pythons where a guy's got his first clutch. It's a stranger clown male to a G-stripe female. Crossing my fingers, I hit all the odds, and I'm like, you got 2 recessives there, bro.
Yeah.
No heads or anything. So you're going to get some strangers and some normals, and they're all going to be.
See, and
there's all these people that are like, oh, bro, you might hit stranger clowns. And I'm like,
not if only one is.
No,
that's not how that works.
You have like people who know, like Luke Martin, who's like, yeah, no, he's going to hit strangers and normals.
Yep.
And that's it.
That's the thing is so I am a biology teacher. I have a degree in biology. And so like when it comes to like I take tons of classes on genetics. I am not a geneticist, but I can understand the basics of breeding and all this. And so when I get to a show and I see these people that barely passed high school and they probably can't count to 20 unless they take their shoes off, and they have to start spouting out percentages. And sometimes you hear the most ridiculous percentages. You're like, that's not mathematically possible. That number,
right.
That's not how percentages work. And so when it comes to
68% of the time,
and so when it comes to like these percentages of how much of is dwarf and this, I'm like, you really need to buy from someone who definitely knows what the fuck they're talking about, because people will throw whatever number they need to on stuff. One, either on purpose just to try and sell something. Two, because they don't actually know what the numbers mean. Like there's so many people that have no idea what those percentage numbers mean at all. They'll buy a 66% het something and go, oh yeah, it's I'm going to make some albinos. It's 66% het. That's not how that you're hoping that it's het albino. Right. That's not how that works.
There was somebody this weekend on World of Ball Pythons that was like, okay, I paired this and this. I plan on 3 of this, 2 of this. I got 7 eggs, and I'm like, I get 3. I should get 2, and I should get 2. And I'm like, bro, you could get all fucking normals. You could get all.
I mean, or you can breed to pair and hope, that you're going to get bells because that's what you bred. And then I'll be damned if 5 out of the 7 eggs weren't just Pastaves.
Yeah.
That's like I tell kids when I teach Punnett squares to my high school students. I'm like, this whole square is not what happens. Every time there's a baby, these are the possibilities. Each time there's a baby, you're not going to have 2 people breed and have babies, and if they have 4 kids, they each get one of the. That's not how that works.
Right. It's kind of seems that's what happens, but no.
It doesn't work that way.
it's just every time any sort of percentage gets added into when it comes to snake breeding, I'm like, oh god, someone's gonna fuck this up.
There was another one this weekend. I forgot one of the groups. Somebody was like, "Can someone explain to me what the 50% het mean?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got to read these comments."
That's
Because there was like
50% of your babies
one in an hour, and it devolved into, "I'm taking my ball and going home because y'all are all stupid." And it was just people trying to explain it, and I'm like, I'm going to tag Travis and I'm going to tag Dr. Booth, Warren Booth in here, and just so they can have their heads explode also, because
yes.
It's just it always
what I should
amazes
have done
me.
was tag Travis and the guy that always talks shit about him, and was like, "Could you two please discuss this?"
So the best part is it goes in the retic world too. I mean, there's a lot of arguing about super dwarfs and dwarfs and who knows the best out of what. But to be honest with you, the only person that knows the best out of all of them is the importer who picked up that snake off the floor. That's the only person that knows, and even that guy can lie
and
to you
maybe
just to get money.
that's only if that importer was also the one that picked it out of the jungle, because depending on what airport it came from, it could be from anywhere.
Correct.
That's when it comes to all those locales. So Todd asked opinions on hybrids. Would you do it? And if so, what species would you try and cross? Before we go into hybrids with other species, the retic community is full of hybrids, because it's a whole bunch of mixed locales, because until I don't know, 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, no one gave a shit. If you had a retic, you bred it to a retic, and there was not a lot of locale stuff. They're like, oh, we're trying to get this to breed with that. People were breeding whatever. So there's so many different locales bred together now in retics.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's why the bloodlines, everything's been so crossed and mishmashed. It's again, you're not getting these full giant animals. Like
They're not really just mainlands anymore.
Yeah, it's just literally like you just said, mishmash. Yeah,
it's everything. I guarantee you has some type of different locality. It's not just a straight mainland anymore, unless it's still alive from the golden age when it first came over. But I mean, it's like a lot of our stuff we get from Gavin and Amanda Bowe, our breeders that we have, and he told us last year, he said, I can't tell you every single locality that's in there, but I can tell you that all of our snakes have dwarf in them, but we don't label it because they don't keep percentages.
Yeah.
So
because he's got small ones in tubs right now that are 10 to 12 years old, and they fit in CB70 tubs.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're not big animals, and that's the way it is. And I kind of get his perception of it, of what's the percentage kind of thing. Because it's just the animal that proves it out. It's not, you got that range, if you put an 8-foot animal with a 14-foot animal, that's a big range. You can get 12 and 13-foot animals, and you can get a possible 8 or 9-foot. Highly unlikely, but they're always going to stay in the middle or higher because of the mother. So that's, you want to do that, but it's just, it's a numbers game. Do all the percentages work? I'll tell you no, because, I have animals here that prove otherwise, so and again, like you saying before, James, I mean, there are people out there to sell a snake, and I hate some of these guys who get their wholesale stuff, and they have no idea what they're putting down or writing.
Yes,
it's ridiculous, and we walk by tables, and we laugh. We're like, what the hell did he just write down? Not even possible.
I saw one 2 weeks ago.
I know what table you're probably talking about most of the time.
I know exactly who they are.
It was
some dang good looking snakes.
Normal. Het tiger, het genetic stripe, het mocha, het albino,
Yep.
pos het lavender.
Yep.
No,
I know exactly what you're talking about, because you came over to me and were like, look at this shit I just saw.
Livid.
I'm assuming this is also the same guy that can't sex snakes as well.
No,
not okay. We're talking about two. Okay.
Yep.
No, but I was very respectful to this person. And I said, hey, we're breeders. I just want to let you know that some of this might be labeled incorrectly, and let them know what to label it correctly. Did that person fix it? No. And did they sell it as a het tiger?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's so funny. Again, a lot of times in the hobby, I will give some people the benefit of the doubt. Some people aren't. They know only what they've learned from the hobby, and they don't know outside of that. We were talking to a guy once who field herps, and he caught a corn snake, and then he kept referring to it as an Okatee corn snake. That's not possible unless you caught it at the Okatee Hunting Club in South Carolina. That's the only way it could be. Like you can't catch one in Louisiana and call it that. That's not how that works. But because it kind of looks like what everybody sells is one, they go, that's what it is. And that happens a lot of time. I think with things, they go, well, it kind of looks like what this person's selling is that. So I'm going to label it as this. I'm like, you can't do that. That's not how genetics works. You can't, just because they look similar doesn't make them the same thing. You know, and Victor was talking about with like milk snakes. He said most of them are hybrids. A lot of people have mixed milk snakes for the longest time in the hobby. Or when it comes to like corn snakes with like albino, a lot of them mix them in with was it the albino emery rats. So you ended up with what they called for a long time. What do they call them? Not candy cane, creamsicles. They called them creamsicles. And so there's a lot of corn snakes out there that have other rat snake blood into them. But then you also have the guys who don't give a shit and they got an animal and they go, if I write this on the tub, I can charge an extra $200.
Yep.
And those are the ones that need to be gone. They just need to leave.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. We see them a lot.
But yeah, when it comes to any of those endo species, locale is very tricky. It's a little better now, but for the longest time, locale is basically whatever port it's shipped out of is its locale.
That's what it would be. Yeah, exactly.
You know, for the longest time, and I'm not going to change it. I'm not calling them Papuan carpet pythons. They were Irian carpet pythons for forever because that's where they came out of, from the airplane. That's not where they're not local. They're not found in Irian Jaya.
Right.
They're not found there. They're found in Papua. But we've called them IJs for forever. And so that's how that happened with a lot of those. And so a lot of these retics were collected on this island, that island, this island, sent to a main hub and shipped out from that main hub. And now they're a mainland. I'm like, no, they weren't. You just sent them all to the same place and then shipped them out from that importer. And so again, all that blood gets kind of mixed. Some things are easier because they only come from certain areas. But when it comes to like Indonesia, it's very tricky on where they came from. And so you have to be very careful when you buy locale stuff on whoever you're buying it from.
I mean, yeah, somebody made a good point. I was reading one of the chats today, and he said you can find retics out in the ocean miles offshore. And some of these islands are only 5 or 6 miles from each other.
Yeah.
And these retics can go over. So if you have a Kalatoa that goes to another island, they breed, they crossbreed. You don't have a pure Kalatoa anymore. You're in something else. So, you know, then the importer goes and picks up the Kalatoa that came over or whatever on the certain islands and says what he wants. It's, you know, it's hard to do that. It's hard to decipher, you know, but it's, you know, there's certain people who know their importers and how they deal with them and they know where they come from. So, yeah. I mean, you know, that's your Garrett Hurdles, that's your Eric Lees, you know, those are your Dan Solises, your big guys, you know, so they know what's going on. They know the percentages correctly. They know the locality is perfect, you know, but it's a scary world out there. What Joe Schmo will put on his display case just to sell a snake. And
it's funny to see when it comes to retics and they're on two different coasts, the vast difference in how certain people have taken the way they do retics. Garrett, the way he does it is very specific. And if he tells you something is something, that's what it is. Mm-hmm. And guarantee it. And he's done such a good job, especially when it comes to the dwarf and super dwarf. He's the guy. And then the guy on the West Coast breeds whatever and does it for the views and all that. Like, it's completely different in the way they do it in the hobby. And one of them I find very trustworthy. And I would go, hey, that's the person you should trust. And the other one, I'm like, you should probably stay away from that.
Oh, yeah. There's some people out there. Oh, yeah. And some big names too that, you know, surprisingly. But yeah. It's, you know, we're learning our super dwarfs and dwarf stuff as we go. And we got, like I said, we have some of our friends are some of the best guys in the business. So we're learning from them, and it's another one we took because I wasn't personally going to start doing super dwarfs. I wanted to stay with mainlands. And she's like, we need to diversify. We just can't have all these giant snakes. We kind of got to go with the times. And I was like, all right. So, and that's what we wound up doing. We wound up speaking to a couple of guys who aren't well known and have some quality animals and spent a little bit of money on them. But I'd rather do that than have something that, again, Joe Schmo told me is 50% Kalatoa and it's not even Kalatoa at all. So, you know, but this time around, we got the right animal. So we'll be okay this year with that.
But I want to be able to offer both because I love the beauty of just a mainland. I love the morphs. I love the beauty. I do love the size. Like, that's one thing that caught my eye. Like, yeah, they're bigger snakes. Do I need to make them gigantic and overweight? Absolutely not. they get just as big as I need them to naturally. It's fine.
I'm trying to
But
push the issue.
it's having that diversity, just like you said, of someone, okay, I do love retics, but I do want something a little bigger than what a super dwarf might get. I want a mainland. Okay, sure, we have those, and we have your super dwarfs for someone who wants something a little bit smaller. So it's still keeping in what we love with the morphs and the colors and the personalities and dealing with retics, but just giving the people a little bit of a smaller snake if this person is a 60-year-old male who's had snakes and wants a retic but doesn't want to deal with something that's 13 feet.
Yeah. That's so anyone out there. So when you go to a show, that's one thing I want to say to people listening. You got to be very careful with who you're buying. And it goes for anything. If you're buying straight from a breeder, that's why a lot of people will suggest go to a breeder to buy whatever it is you're buying, because a lot of times they can show you that picture of the adult. They can give you the background, the history, and all that. That is not to say that the reseller, wholesalers, those kinds of guys are bad. That just means when you go to those tables, you have to be a little more selective and really pay attention to the person. And sometimes some people are really good at being used car salesmen and can sell anything. But sometimes you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt on what they're saying that something is. Especially when it comes to hets for anything, that could be boas, retics, ball pythons, anything. When it comes to hets, if you're willing to gamble because you like the way it looks visually already, then that's probably a fine gamble. But if you're like, I need it to be het this, then you probably need to go straight to the breeder and go ask that breeder what it is, and they can show you the parents, and it's a het. And so that's just, you got to be careful. And I think too many people are looking for cheap animals instead of good animals.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. You wouldn't understand the amount of messages that we get. Do you have any normals that I can get for $50?
$125. No, we don't.
I'm sorry, $50 isn't even what it costs to feed my baby.
I mean, we get people like that, and either that or what irks me the most is we see some retic guys, and it's not just Herps shows; it's other shows that we do. They have these prices for these snakes at dirt low prices, and it's like they don't know the business, they don't know the animal, and they're selling them dirt cheap. And somebody comes to our table, they look at our table, we got pricey stuff, and I'm not going to lie about that. That was my goal, was to get into the business to have nice stuff. I don't want to have 30 normals on my table, and nothing against tigers. I don't want to have 30 tigers on my table either.
But then I came in and I said we need to diversify.
Yeah, we need to diversify.
Can't just have
that stuff.
Yeah, you still got to have some normals and some tigers on the end for the person that wants to get into them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
Or the person who is a middle class person and says, I really do love these snakes. I've done my research. I've had this, and this, but I can't afford a $2,000 snake.
Yeah.
Cool. Here's some stuff under 500. Here's some stuff 500 to 1,000. So we have all of those ranges now, but I would say 75% of our snakes are above $1,000,
which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna, because you don't want to be sitting there trying to battle against the people selling the cheap stuff. Like it's very hard to do that.
We lose a lot, but the thing is I feel like sometimes those people, they are doing it because it's a cheaper animal, and then they call us and they're like, hey, I need help with this, or it's, I don't know if something's wrong with this snake, or I paid this much for it. Is this what the morphs really are, or it's labeled wrong, or things like that? And it does kind of weed out people who aren't as serious as paying for a good quality animal.
Yeah, that's what I say. Make sure whatever you're breeding looks good, because then, all right, somebody across at a show is selling whatever it is, same thing that you have, at a lower price. It probably doesn't look as good as yours if you actually took the time to put good genes and good animals into that. And so, yes, someone coming in to buy a cheap animal may go buy that. But someone coming in to buy a quality animal is going to buy from you. They're going to go, oh, well, that looks way better. It's cleaner. It just looks better. And so you've got to have that thought. You can't, and so many people get into these hobbies to breed. I don't want to call them breeders. They breed. They're not breeders. They buy cheap snakes because they want to be a breeder. And those are the same people that are selling their entire collection in like 3 years.
Or less.
Because they're having to wholesale everything and make fucking nothing on it, because no one wants to buy their ugly ass snakes. No one wants to buy, a regular boa at $150.
Getting out of it. Those
love
guys
the-
don't last long.
I love the folks, whether it's coming out of the hobby or just out of a Facebook group. I love the announcers, the ones that have to announce they're leaving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, especially on a Facebook group. I'm leaving this group. No one fucking cares, dude. Go.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm getting out of this hobby. The people in this hobby or whatever. I'm like, go. Like, no one in the hobby is gonna miss you if you leave. Like, that's not
Not at all.
because obviously if you're that person that has to leave, no one cared that you were there in the first place.
Because you're probably the stupid fucking people we talk about all the time.
yeah.
So good riddance, because
we don't get into the chats very much often at all. We kind of stay out of that stuff. But sorry about that, my dog.
Nuts.
Let's see, there goes
one of my-
Dorito.
No,
The Dorito.
I don't know.
One of my
I don't
girls
know
just
what.
tapped the
One of our
glass.
girls just tapped the glass and Dorito went crazy.
But yeah, we don't get involved with the chat stuff like that because I mean it's just ridiculous. There are some people that I feel bad for when they put out a question. I will PM them directly,
Yeah.
and I will chat with them. I will say, listen, before you decide to even get answers from anybody, here's this person. PM them. They'll give you the direct answers, and this is the best guy in the game. You know what I'm saying? Because I just feel bad for certain people.
People get harsh on those chats, and
Yes.
we're okay with it. We're fine because we can take it. We'll give criticism. We'll be there. We'll support someone. We'll tell them, hey, this is what we would do. This is what we recommend. We're not saying it's 100% accurate to what everyone would do, but it's what we recommend. Or we'll private message them. Like our daughter, she is getting into breeding ball pythons, and she asked, hey, can I join the ball python group? And we're like, nope.
Were y'all sad when she chose ball pythons? Did
Yes.
part of you die
No,
inside?
no.
I wasn't sad
got-
because they bought their racks for me.
No, we didn't. To be honest with you, no, I wasn't because you know why? Because she can make a killing off of it.
Yeah.
She'll make more money than we will.
Yeah.
And that's good for her. And
Yeah.
Look, I shit on lots of species, especially ball pythons. But if she likes ball pythons and that's the snake she likes, there's no reason to make her keep something else.
Right.
Like that's
Logan likes
Well, she-
colubrids, so that's what he goes after.
She loves them, and she's got 16 of them right now, and she's had 8 or 9 locks. Many.
She's got
A lot more than that. Oh, okay. Apparently I'm wrong. But she's had a ton of locks this season, and she's hoping that she can produce her first clutch this year. And when she does, she's going to have a table at the shows, and she'll pay her table fee, and she'll sell her snakes, and just like any other vendor.
Yeah, sure.
There
She's
you
got good people behind her too. So I mean, she's got Jack and Heidi.
Yeah.
Earl Stiegel. She's
They're
got-
okay, I guess.
Eagle.
She's got Earl.
She's got Earl. She's got Earl from Lone Star. So she's got some good people helping her out. So it's nice.
well, and you
and
talked
it's a
about
good thing.
keeping her out of the ball python groups. It's funny, and we've mentioned on here before. There are certain groups of reptiles that the Facebook groups, that the social media groups, are not the best.
Yes.
The more popular I think an animal is, the less likely those groups are to be a good place to go to. Like the Sambo groups are pretty good. There's not really any bickering. They're pretty great. We all talk. No one asks a question and then they're all like, "You're a fucking idiot." That doesn't happen. But ball pythons 100% happens because everyone's a fucking expert in that group. Retic groups, I've seen it. Everyone's an expert, even though they've only owned the retic for a month. Boa groups have gotten that way, like the boa constrictor groups.
There's a guy local here who got his first snake a few months ago. Now, mind you, he's bought a shitload of them, and he's always in the local groups trying to give people advice and then arguing with the experienced people. And then today he posts, "Can someone teach me how to sex snakes?" Why the fuck are you giving anybody advice about anything if you don't even know how to do that basic
That's
thing?
something you should probably learn.
Yeah. I probably lost this person as a customer because I told him, I was like, man, when the admins of the local groups have to have a powwow about you,
don't worry. That person in 2 years won't be in it because he'll be the one in 2 years making a post. I'm done with this hobby. These people are yada yada, and then they're gone.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, it happens with the retics. Yeah.
So Todd asked, "Is it true that most berms tend to be less aggressive than a retic?" Historically, yes, but nowadays, no.
Now because they're so captive bred.
I mean, I've met some pissed off berms.
Yeah.
I mean, Rachel can tell you exactly how sweet our babies are that we bring.
Sweet.
Oh, they took out, what's the one y'all had out, the dark one?
Oh, we had Loki out.
Loki.
Motley
yeah,
Cancer
they just-
Loki.
Like when we got there Saturday morning, Taylor just opens up the tub, picks them, hands them to let Rachel, and I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, all right.
Well, and also,
I
Todd,
can-
that's berm's been bred since the 70s
Yeah.
on a larger scale. Retics really didn't become big until after the 2000s. I mean, they were around, but a lot of them were imports and a lot of them were biting. But they've been bred really heavily in the last 22 years or so.
Yeah.
I can safely and very confidently say I can hand over Loki to a 2 or 3 year old child, of course, standing there as guard, but to that child, and Loki's not going to do anything to him. He's never bit. He's never struck. When I tell you he is the most docile snake I will ever meet, he doesn't even grab the rat. He opens his mouth and I have to put it in it.
Literally.
That's great.
Yeah, you open the door to his closure. You open the door to his enclosure. He puts his head. Out. Either you put your hand in, he'll sit and just rest on your head, or he'll rest on the door slide, where the door slides back and forth. He'll lay his head there. He won't even move, even with the door wide open. He'll just sit there.
That's awesome.
And he's so good that I had the opportunity to take him to my job. I work with children on the spectrum Monday through Friday, and I was able to take him. And I mean, when I tell you children on the spectrum, they can't always decipher how to be gentle with an animal. And some of them are grabbing, some of them are like pulling or grabbing his head, and he's not doing anything.
That's not just children on the spectrum. That's children. High school kids can't figure that out either, and they're although a normal high school kid's on its own spectrum. That's a
yeah. I have one of those coming up. So
I mean, look, my kid is not technically on the spectrum, but she can't find shit even if it's in her hand. So
here's
It
somebody post a picture of a frozen thawed Pinky Mouse with a little bit of freezer burn on it.
Don't feed it.
All these people are like, would you want to eat it if it was freezer burnt?
Dude, they eat rotten shit in the wild. Now I do have some pinkies in my freezer that are like, throw them a solid weight. They're pretty fucking freezer burn. Yeah. I'm like, and I've had them for a while. I'm like,
you know what? Chicken nuggets taste just the same with freezer burn. There's no difference. Okay.
But I feel, especially pinkies freezer burn in like a week. Fuck that. Those things. They have no hair on them. They freezer burn quick. So if they're still within like 3 or 4 months of me getting them, they're still fucking good. The ones I think in my freezer may have been there since I moved.
That will make your snake snick. Your snake sick. It needs to be fresh.
Fucking cottonmouths eat roadkill. Yep. Like they've seen cottonmouths just grabbing roadkill.
Don't feed it. It's freezer burnt. Your snake will get sick. No, it won't.
I don't think people understand what freezer burn is. It's not a bacteria. Like it's not.
It's just ice particles.
Yeah. That's all it is.
It's only water.
It's chemtrails. It's like chemtrails. Oh, fucking people. Anyways, so I want to go through a few things that were on our discussion group, some things that got posted over the last week. There was a funny one I got posted a couple times. It was of a guy in Australia getting rid of a crocodile in his yard with a frying pan. Did y'all watch that video?
Oh yeah, so that thing ran off like no tomorrow.
He just smacks it right across the face with a frying pan. It's like 9-foot croc's like, oh fuck, and just turns around and heads back to the water.
Did you think that video was taped in like super speed motion? Because that croc like flew.
Oh no, they're quick.
He flew like real like down the hill super fast.
Trust me, I've had them come after me before. They're quick.
Here's a comment that you'll like. I feed mine live, and I've never had one look like that.
All right, I'll keep going.
Well, yeah.
No shit.
No shit.
What was it? I saw, oh shit, what did I see in a group earlier? I saw someone posted it. They reposted something from another group. It was someone just stating like a normal fact that no one ever asked about. And someone goes, tell me you don't have something to say while telling me you don't have something to say. It was just them just stating a normal fact that everyone knows. There was no one asked about it. They just made a post about it. I was like, not everybody has to talk. Nathan posted this video. I don't know what kind of turtle this is, but it shoots water out of its mouth and I want it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's the video is it's squirting, it's shooting another turtle in the face with water.
Yeah, saw that.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one. I've seen that one.
And then as the turtle turns away, the other one's like, oh fuck no, you come back here. I'm gonna keep shooting you with water.
Did you see the one with Gary? Did you see the one with Garrett Harlow getting bit?
No.
Yeah, he just put that out, I think, this week. I think it was put out this week. He gets bit, it wraps his arm, so he goes outside the house and he bites the tail. And then the snake lets go.
Yeah,
I'm like, good job, Garrett. Yeah.
Everyone says that. They're like, hey, if you get bit by a retic and it won't let go, find its tail and take a bite.
Bite its tail, have a bottle of rum around,
alcohol,
Listerine,
mouthwash.
Well, I saw one I think it was in a boa group the other day. Someone posted a picture of a guy with his boa bit him and wrapped around his arm, and he's at the emergency room, and everybody's like, why the fuck did you go to the emergency room? Like, you now have an emergency room bill, whereas you could have just dunked it in a bathtub with water. You could have poured some alcohol on. You could have done anything.
Mouthwash.
There was the lady that got bit in the face by the rat snake that was on her door. Knew it was a rat snake, and went to the hospital and said it was like 13 grand or something. And she's like, but I would do it again because rat snakes' mouths are dirty because they eat rats. Dude, their fucking mouths cleaner than yours because they're cold blooded. They don't.
Well, even if then you just wash it.
Yeah.
You just wash it. And then if it starts to get infected, then go and get some.
Well, that was my question was, so every time you cut your finger or you're out in the yard and you scratch your arm, you run to the hospital because that tree limb that cut you is probably dirtier than that snake's mouth.
Yep.
Fucking idiots. Megan posted a picture over in our group. It was like this like play date. These two moms and these kids playing in the house, and it's a house camera. You can see like the living room, and then you can see the kitchen. And in the background, there's just like this big rat snake just crawling across the floor, and they finally notice it.
Yeah.
Oh, that never happens to me. I always want that, but it never.
It happened to me once when we moved into the house I grew up in the year I turned 9. We moved out there, and probably about a year or so after we had lived there, there was shrubs all across the front, and I had the windows open.
I bet you're talking on the microphone. There.
And then all of a sudden, I look up, and the screen's been popped out a little bit at the top, and there's a snake coming in. You know, granted the fact I did not really know much about snake to this point. All I'm thinking is, holy crap, there's some sort of snake coming. I still don't remember what.
And it's going to kill you. They're all going to kill you.
I didn't think it was going to kill me. I just didn't know what it was. At that point, I was taught, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we ended up using a pair of kitchen tongs to flip it back out.
Her
mom, my mom did it.
Well, her mom a few years ago, it was before the house burned down. They had a window unit in their bedroom because sometimes her dad likes it a little colder, and he worked nights a lot before he retired. And they had taped
blackout
fabric around it, so to help black out the room. And she was doing something,
pulling it out down to wash it.
Yeah, I don't remember. And found the remnants of a snake stuck between the tape and the wall. And she's like, that's this far from my head. And I'm sure it was just a rat snake.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, yeah, I think we're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, because
and then the house burned down.
Had to be a rat snake because if you ever wonder how something gets somewhere, it's a rat snake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I figured it was probably some sort of a rat snake that was in the bedroom when I was a kid. I'm
guessing that Juliana's your daughter.
You're right.
Because she just commented ball pythons are the best.
That's her.
That's her.
Another thing I posted, USARK Florida posted this, and we brought it up I think last time on the podcast, but there's a study that they're hypothesizing that there has been a positive benefit to berms in the Everglades.
I saw that, and people jumped on it like, oh, that's a scientific study, so we need to quit killing them.
Yeah, no. We can still kill them. It's just great that it's helping out. So apparently they think that the berms are eating things like raccoons, which are a native predator to eggs for crocodiles and turtles. And the crocodile and turtle numbers have gone down. Now, a lot of it's just the reason that the raccoons have been able to do this is because raccoons benefit from human development. And because more and more human development, the raccoons are doing better than they naturally would have without humans moving into the fucking Everglades. And so in this case, the berms may be doing some good. With that said, no, we should still definitely kill them. There's still an invasive species, and I don't care how much you love snakes, and I love snakes, I will never be like, we should let them all live. That's a horrible idea. But it would be nice if, at least for now, it does help the American crocodile population come back, which has definitely suffered because of encroachment into the Everglades. So that's the whole problem with this. This human error of now having berms in the Everglades is fixing a human error of having humans in the Everglades. Mm-hmm. So it's one positive. Again, we should still kill them. I mean, I every time I see that get posted in a group, snake people go, we should go down there and catch them. Then what the fuck are you going to do with them?
Did you watch this week's episode of Naked and Afraid?
Where they showed a ball python?
Yeah. In a tree in the jungle of South America.
I've taken pictures.
Did you notice that one of the caiman that was swimming away was actually an American alligator?
Yeah.
I have several pictures on my phone of seasons of Naked and Afraid where I've taken pictures of things not in the right fucking place.
There was also a reticulated python. All the same episode.
Yeah.
They showed a retic crawling on the ground. Now, mind you, they're in Peru.
Ecuador,
maybe?
Peru? I can't remember.
I thought it was Peru.
They had a ball python hanging from a tree branch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They've used that clip before. That's not. I've seen that clip. I have a picture of that clip.
Somebody let it go.
A
in the
retic,
middle of the Amazon.
a retic crawling in the Amazon, and then an American alligator in the water.
Yeah.
And they show the anaconda a lot. I'm like, okay, well, they actually found an anaconda and let it go.
So I also have a theory on this season of Naked and Afraid. They are in the Amazon. And there's they show clips of pink toe tarantulas all the fucking time. I have a theory. It's the same fucking pink toe.
Probably.
They're just like, put it on this rock, film it. All right, put it on this branch, film it. Put it on this tree.
We got all
film
the
it.
B-roll done in one day.
And now we're just going to keep showing the same
For the
spider in
next
different places.
10 seasons.
Because it's the only spider they've shown, this one fucking pink toe tarantula all year.
Yeah.
That's what drives me nuts. I love Naked and Afraid, but you're on the Discovery Channel. Someone can sit there and go, guys, let's just put all the animals that belong in Africa in a folder.
Yes.
And you can't choose anything from that folder if you're filming in South America.
We were at her parents' house for dinner yesterday, and her dad and I were watching Naked and Afraid, like an episode from a couple seasons ago, when they were in the Chihuahuan Desert, and they showed a warthog.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yes, we have some wild warthogs in Texas, but I don't think that's what you were showing. And they called it a javelina, and I'm like, that's a big fucking difference.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does drive me nuts. With that said, I'm still not going to stop watching.
Yeah, me either.
It just gives you a good laugh.
I think everybody that's left this season is going to make it.
Yes, they're all really good.
Yeah.
Oh, the 6 of them.
Well, they got Matt there killing stuff for them. So
yeah, for anybody that doesn't watch Naked and Afraid, it's your problem.
Yeah, it's
I love Naked and Afraid. It's great.
I only watch it because of him.
Yeah,
I don't really watch the whole thing.
She acts like she doesn't like it, but then she's like, "Oh,
well, no, like it's interesting, but I'm not going to make time to watch every single episode. I can catch up really quickly, and I can ask questions if I do.
The only thing I hate this year is that Jeff came in and then had to go home because he got a stomach bug, and he's almost died on previous episodes, so it had to be fucking horrible for him to have to go home. But he would have made it the whole time too.
My favorite part was Gary getting knocked out on day 2.
Fucking hate Gary.
I do too.
Gary,
I was like, because had he not, blinded himself by cutting the one tree they told him don't cut, he would have eaten some crazy shit and gotten sick.
Yeah, Gary's been on several seasons, several episodes.
Podcast.
We should. He's on several seasons of the show, and every time he does something fucking, he got knocked out of Louisiana because he fucking ate eyeballs.
Yeah,
they're like, don't eat the eyeballs.
Well, that turned out it wasn't from eating them; it was from putting them in his
eyeballs. That's right.
And he absorbed parasites into his own eyes.
He got sick in Africa because he kept eating rotting stuff. They'd come across rotting, and he'd keep eating it.
He was like, "Are you really a survivalist if you don't eat maggots?"
They pay that guy extra.
100%, bro.
Yeah,
pay him extra. They pay him extra.
This season, they told them, don't use your axe to cut down this specific.
Yeah, the sap of it is poisonous.
The sap is poisonous. It'll burn your skin. It'll blind you. The first fucking tree he cut down, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah,
sure enough,
just chopping away at that shit and right into his.
They had to take him to the hospital. He spent like 6 days in the hospital before he got his sight back.
Darren said he was hoping Trish and Jen tapped.
I did too.
They did not tap. They made it, but they were also there. They could have stayed the entire time. They're like, no, I'm ready to get out of here.
Yeah.
I like the two guys like, no, we'll go ahead and do 60 days. They're only supposed to be there for 40. They're like, although it's easy to say you'll do 60 when Matt shows up and you know he's going to feed you.
Right.
Yeah.
That dude, if anybody that's never watched Naked and Afraid, I can't remember Matt's last name.
On that with him. She's a badass.
Oh, yeah.
I really like her.
I don't like her.
Oh, I do.
No, but she's one of those that has to, she has to feel like she is part of everything.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
And it comes off being a bitch a lot of times. Like sometimes it's okay if you're not a part of everything. It's fine. But anybody that watches Naked and Afraid, Matt has killed big game on every challenge.
Yeah.
He was in Africa. The one challenge, so he was in Amazon before, and it was the only one he had to tap because he got like some sort of like flesh-eating bacteria in his foot.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, you have to go. We can't stay here. Right. But he had just killed a hog, like a big old pig.
Yeah.
And then like, all right, now you got to go.
Yep. This season, it's the
horn screamers.
Horn screamers. Those things fucking crazy looking.
We had when I worked at the zoo, we had screamers. Those things lay eggs all the fucking time. The screamers, if everybody that knows, it's a big ass South American bird, and it screams. It screams. But these horn screamers have giant spurs on their wings. And I've dealt that before with spur-winged geese, which have these huge spurs on their wings. And what they do when they come at you is they fucking hit you with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really good at getting you with them. Darren, it's Amber. That's the one that's left. That's the one that's left. She's just kind of a bitch. I'm not a.
Let's say Anthony Gonzalez is shouting out to Dax and Taylor, saying that one of his favorite retics that he owns came from them, and he's by far his most chill one he has.
Awesome.
Thanks, Anthony.
And he says, y'all are the goats, that y'all have taught him a whole lot.
So I was still scrolling through. I should mention this earlier. Don't forget, if you need LED UVB light bulbs, go to VivTech and you can use our code Gumbo22 to get 15% off.
We need to order another
I
one.
sold a cage this week, a 4x2x2, to another vendor Saturday morning who listens to the podcast, and said he already had his VivTech bulb waiting for the enclosure at home.
Nice.
So that was good.
The other day, I went to check on my tortoises, and the VivTech bulb wasn't on. I was like, the fuck? These things just last forever, and it wasn't working. I kept flipping the thing, went off. Fuck. So I took it out. I went in the garage. I found another fixture. I put it in there, plugged it in. It worked. I was like, great. Came back upstairs. The fixture had gotten unplugged at some point, and that was the only problem. It was, nothing was actually broke.
What happens?
It was
But
fine.
we do it all the time.
Should have just checked the
No,
plug.
correction,
we-
he does it all
I think
the
we've
time.
all done it once or twice. So
I was like, these things are supposed to last forever. They still do. It's still working.
You got no gas in it.
I say we need to get on there and order us one.
Yeah.
Well, when I get this new zoo set up, I'm going to, when we go design the cages, I want to try and design them so I can put lights in some of them. I want to use the VivTech lights.
Oh yeah.
Nathan also posted a video of this chocolatier guy making a fucking like crocodile out of chocolate.
Saw that.
Did you see that? That was insane. It's like a life-size crocodile out of chocolate. Now, after he's done all this stuff to it, I don't know how well it tastes, but I would definitely try and eat it. But yeah, it ends up looking amazing. I say spray paints. He paints it with obviously edible whatever. But I also posted on our group for any suggestions on people y'all want to see on the podcast. That's how we got these guys on. They were a suggestion on there, and I was like, that's right. Well, I don't know why we haven't had them on anyways. So
They're awesome to have on.
yeah, Todd suggested y'all be on here, so that's y'all are on here. But anybody go shoot us a message. If there's someone you want us to reach out to, I'll reach out to anybody. I've got somebody next month that I'm so excited about. I'm not gonna say who, but they've been around in the hobby.
On the day we were supposed to not record.
Yeah, no, we're recording. My parents are gonna be in town.
We're definitely
and
recording.
Katie's like, your parents are in town. I was like, well, they can wait because I'm talking to this person. But she has been in the hobby longer than I've been alive, and I cannot wait. It's gonna be great.
Exciting.
That's the only thing I'm giving everybody.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good show.
But next month, look forward to that one.
So is Katie entertaining your parents and I'm going to be on the show with y'all? Or am I entertaining your parents? So
Joe's
Katie-
entertaining my parents.
You know who we should have on the
My
show
parents
with
are
us
only
that night?
coming to see my daughter. not
We
come
should
to
have
see us.
Logan sitting here that night.
Over that, yeah. That should give it
I don't know
away.
who it is, but I'm
Anyways,
sure
Yeah,
he's
so
on it.
well,
But anyways, give us suggestions, folks. I also I reached out to someone who. So this week I saw a post where someone. I'm trying to do this politically. Someone posted a screenshot from another group where a person had commented about how dangerous hog noses are, because they are, even if we want to pretend they're not. They are. And they gave all this information. And then obviously everybody, yes, Victor, you're right. Everybody began to laugh at him. And when the screenshot got shared, they scratched out the names, but there was enough of the image of the Facebook image. I knew who that was because they're my friend on Facebook.
yeah,
And I was like, all of y'all should probably stop because he's forgotten more about reptiles than you'll ever learn.
right,
And he's not wrong.
right. And like I said, when any of you who are laughing at him have done 1/100th of the shit that he's done,
Yeah.
then maybe we'll listen to you. Otherwise, you're just making yourself sound like an asshole.
Yeah. So that's another problem with Facebook. Everybody is an expert. And then when the actual experts say shit, the other experts, quote unquote experts,
Right.
tried to make them look
Well,
stupid. I'm like,
Once you started getting some of the more experienced folks seeing that post,
yeah.
they were like, "Hey, you need to shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
Because yeah, he like
when it's, and I'm not even fussing at the person that originally shared it on the group
No.
we're in, but when you saw the screenshot from where it came from, so many laugh emojis on that, and you're like, you're wrong.
yeah,
Also trying to get that person on here as well. And I
be
figure
good.
you could talk to them about their other hobby, which is knives.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a cool hobby too.
Yeah.
But so I'm all for trying to get anybody on the podcast. And so just let me know who y'all want, and I'll reach out to them. The worst they can do is tell us
I'm
no.
gonna
Yeah.
put my vote in for somebody.
I do. Well, when we get off this, I want y'all to message me 2 people that you would suggest, and then I will reach out to them.
All right, awesome, yeah.
Trying to see if there's anything. Oh, Nathan posted this sign. I don't know where it's located, but it's some desert somewhere. It says, "Watch out for reptiles," and then it lists rattlesnakes, lizards, spiders, centipedes, scorpions, coyotes, etc.
Thank you for that.
right.
I think there's something wrong with their list.
Yeah.
The old
Is that the one
coyote
that says-
reptiles.
Is that the one that says "Thank you, management" on the bottom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are not welcome, management. You are not welcome.
Thank you, management.
We also have a guest for next week. That guest is also in the chat room. So I'm not going to say his name, but I've already put you down. So you better be available next week. That's it. That's all I got. Y'all got anything?
No.
Oh, also, I posted my GoFundMe for my high school. I'm going to do a free plug here for me for the high school reptile zoo I'm trying to create. If at the very least, if y'all go find it, it's in our Reptile Gumbo discussion group. Just share it. Maybe we can share it with enough people. I'm trying to raise some money so we can buy things like radiant heat panels. I'd really like to be able to buy good thermostats. I'd like to be able to buy, really like to be able to buy Herbstat 6s just so I can run multiple cages all at one time. I need to buy light fixtures. And a lot of this stuff I know I can get donated from here or there. But if we can get the money in the first place, that would be nice because I would also like to be able to pay some of these people that are going to help us by donating stuff as well. So
You want a retic?
no. Remember we talked earlier about knowing your limitations, and that goes in the same category.
They're small.
They stay small.
They
It's
stay
like
small.
that
Don't worry
thing.
about it.
Oh, yours only get 3 feet. That's right. That's
Yeah. He's
That's
adorable.
the new kind.
like the
14 to 16 inches.
I want to say anybody that has offered me animals at this point, I appreciate all of it. Just there's some of them definitely don't fit. Like I said, the white lip and the Woma that was offered, that's great. This is probably not best for high school kids. That's probably not best. No offense, I don't want any ball pythons. Several people have offered ball pythons. I am trying my hardest to stay away from them at all. I've again had chameleons offered. As much as I'd love a panther chameleon, that thing's gonna die. I'm not doing that. That's that's not a good idea. But
Not where you can't control the environment.
it's so I've got some animals on my short list that I'd like to get to, but I would like to get the cages and everything else set up first before then I'm like, hey, let's do animals. I don't want to be like,
Definitely put a blue beauty in there.
that's what I should get.
Yeah.
Blue, maybe
Or like a big king rat, a big pissed off king rat that
Yeah.
bites everybody.
tiger rat snakes, those are really good. You
Yeah.
know what? Fuck it. Gaboon.
Wild caught, like preferably.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yellow anaconda.
Have you checked?
Why
with
not?
the
I mean, if
city?
you're going big, why not a rattlesnake?
Yeah. It's a school and they are technically my animals and they are on loan there.
Okay.
And it's a Texas native animal. Big rattlesnake.
I had
So
someone,
let's beg for forgiveness
Yeah.
instead of asking.
I had someone earlier on
my
post
philosophy in life.
that posted like, I've got a baby box turtle. And I was like, that's cool. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if we have more than one male left in the Slowinskis.
So I'm also going to take this corn snake over here. I also want to do some cages behind so that I can exchange out animals once a month.
Yeah.
So so it's not just the same thing because anybody that goes to a zoo
Fund me.
when
You better up that
I know.
GoFundMe.
Whenever you go to a zoo that like if it's the same stuff every time, sometimes you just walk past things.
Sure.
Yeah.
And those kids are going to be seeing it every day.
Yeah.
So it'll be good if every couple of weeks you can move some stuff around.
Darren said a croc monitor. It could become the detention room. 8 hours in this room. You make out alive, you're not in detention tomorrow.
That will make you valedictorian.
None of our kids go to get in school suspension anymore. It's amazing. Now we've lost 4 of them, but no one else
Right.
goes anymore.
Right.
You have to clean the crock monitor cage.
Yeah. If you act up, you have to go in there and clean it. All right. Again, if you want to get a hold of DNT Retics, Dax, Taylor, how can I get a hold of you?
We have Instagram, Facebook, also email. Instagram and Facebook is both DNT Retics. And then our email is just dntretics@gmail.com. We reply usually within an hour or so, unless we're sleeping. Well, I'm sleeping because they'll reply at 1 o'clock in the morning. So
I used to do
anything
that,
you
not
guys
anymore.
ever need, he's available 24 hours. I'll be available 18 hours.
So I've kind of adopted a rule. If you message me in the middle of the night, it's going to be 24 hours before I respond. I'm waiting at least 24 hours because you don't respect my time enough.
I see both sides.
No.
That's why
If they
Robert
message
doesn't
the
reply to
business
you.
page, it's okay.
Okay.
If they go find my personal page and message me or text me, the one that gets me is when you text me. Because sometimes people will message me on Facebook and they'll be like, well, it showed that you were active. I'm like, that's because it's up on my laptop in my office.
It's always on, yeah.
So it's always shows to be on. But if you fucking text me or call me at 1 or 2.
Oh yeah, no, that's
a.m.,
an issue.
Yeah, and it happens.
Yeah, no, it got so bad that I had to tell him that he had to silence his phone at night.
It's
because it was
amazing
waking me up all
How
night long.
people just have no boundaries these days.
And I can get somebody messaging a business page at 2 a.m.
Sure.
Maybe they work nights
Sure,
and
sure.
and they're up.
Yeah,
But don't
I
message
have
and
one guy
then
like that. Mhm.
and then get mad because they're not answering right away. Because I
I've
can't
had
stand the
that
ones
too.
that message like 5 messages in a row.
I just recently had that where they messaged me at like 2 a.m. and then they were like, "Why are you not responding to my personal Facebook page?" And I responded the next, like I waited a full 24 hours and I responded and I'm like, "I'm sorry that I didn't respond to you at 2 a.m. on a Sunday night. But here's the answer, on your rack that has a 6-week lead time that you ordered 2 weeks ago that you're asking me where it's at." Yeah.
Robert, is that why it takes you 24 hours to get back to Dax?
Yes.
If you want to get a hold of Robert,
Yeah.
Normal business hours, please.
LSReptileRacks.com or Lone Star Reptile Racks on Facebook. Do not message Robert. Don't do that.
No,
Message
please, you can message.
the business page. Leave
Yeah.
them alone, guys.
Honestly, I prefer if they contact me through the website because it's so easier. Because GoDaddy now has a way you can aggregate all your
Yeah.
messages and stuff. So nice. And I've been having a lot of problems with Facebook's or Meta business not giving me, like, I opened it up a couple weeks ago. I haven't gotten any messages through a business page in a couple days. I had like 15 messages. It wasn't giving me the alerts.
There's a lot of issues with
Yeah.
Meta.
Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
message from somebody today who said that they were trying to reach you.
My
They're asking
my
about
buddy owns a gun shop and he's pretty much has to be done posting anything on Facebook because all of his stuff keeps getting pulled down.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a hold of us, it is the Reptile Gumbo Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, at gmail.com. Don't forget our giveaway. Again, just go over to our Facebook page. It's pinned at the top. Tell us your favorite guest over the last 122 episodes, and you are entered in for a free 1-year USARC membership. If you already have one, we will make sure we add on to that one so it extends for another year. And then we will be giving away another one. If you don't win it this month, you can still win it next month. We'll give another one away in July thanks to Sean over at Herps. He is going to be sponsoring that one. So all you got to do is go over and write it. You can go over there and say DNT Retics, and then you're in. That's all you got to do. So 122 episodes. Pick somebody. Next week we will be back with someone that's still in the chat, and they better be here next week. Katie again will not be here. She's gone for a freaking month. I'm home alone eating chili out of a can for the next month.
You're welcome at our house.
Do we need to make real dinner and have you over, James?
No, because that means I have to get dressed and get off my couch. Like,
So
this
you
was a
want me to
pain.
deliver it to your door. Good luck.
This was a lot to get up here to this table. So my couch has a butt impression from the last 4
Long as
days.
you have on your pajama pants and a t-shirt, you can come over in your pajama
I can't promise I'm wearing that at any time. So we will be back next week. Thanks everybody for listening. Guys, hang out. Thanks everybody else for watching. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.